Welcome to GenXAdulting. And today, Brian and I are going to talk about Gen X core memories unlocked. So I've made a list of things I remember from my Gen X childhood. Brian's made a list, but we
Mhm.
have not shared that list. Even though sometimes throughout the week, Brian would start to talk to me about his list, I would tell him to stop, that we need to save it for this episode. So,
Is that why you've not engaged when
yeah,
I've brought them up?
yes,
Okay.
yes, because I
I
want.
have a feeling my list is not as good as yours because I've been struggling. So I'm curious to hear what yours is, and then that may make my list evolve.
I think that there may be a lot of similarities. Like probably some things on my list, you'll say, oh yeah," and you'll be like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, me too." But I didn't want to know it was on your list, and I think that it's better just to kind of surprise each other because I'm curious how many we have are the same and how
Yeah.
many are different. We're from the opposite coasts. I grew up on the West Coast in Oregon. Brian grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey. I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on it. I spent actually my younger formative years, preschool through second grade in Northern California. So I was more in a very much hippie vibe, Northern California, especially in the 70s. You certainly were not.
No, I spent, and I think in my formative years, it's northern New Jersey outside of New York City, and then in Jersey City, which is right across the river from New York. But then I spent summers in West Virginia.
Right.
So I had a very contrasting upbringing.
You did. And
Yeah.
I would spend summers, part of my summer in Michigan,
Mhm.
where my dad lived because my parents were
Which
divorced
is totally different from the West Coast vibe of
completely.
California and Oregon. Yeah.
And New Jersey.
Yeah.
The Midwest has its own completely
Oh yeah.
different vibe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see. So I'm just going to start
Yeah.
because
You
I
go
think,
first because
yeah.
I have a feeling my list sucks
Okay, so
compared to yours, but you go and we'll.
yeah, I already know there's a couple things on here. I just know. So, the first thing that comes to mind for me when I made this list, and it's going to be weird, but it was my favorite candy, and it was
Mm.
called Tangy Taffy, and you can't get it now. And
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah. So it was like a stick,
When
like
did
a
when did
big
that
stick.
stop? Because I could have sworn we. I'd have recollection of it.
So
Maybe.
there's Laffy Taffy,
Yeah.
and Laffy Taffy has small squares, I think, and then it has like a bigger stick that's like, I don't know, maybe 7 inches long by like 2 inches wide, and it's flat. But then Tangy Taffy was my absolute favorite
Interesting.
candy. And all through my childhood, 7-Eleven, any convenience store, that's what I bought. When I told the story on the other episode where I would go and pick up trash at the baseball diamond
Yeah. Yeah.
and she would give me candy, that was one of the things she would give me. I would eat that walking home, like
Interesting.
holding it just
Was
like
there like a particular flavor?
cherry.
Cherry. Okay.
Cherry was so good. So
Interesting.
and I think the last time I had it was honestly, I think when we were first married. So I was probably like 23
Hmm.
and then it just disappeared.
Do you think it's still available on the West Coast? Someone has to chime in because we haven't been back in a
Yeah,
few
I
years,
don't
right?
know.
But
So did you not have Tangy Taffy?
I don't know. I recall us having some type of taffy. Well, we had growing up in New Jersey, we used to go to the shore.
Well, yeah, that's different though.
I mean,
That's
you'd get
saltwater taffy.
saltwater
Yeah,
taffy.
we had that in Oregon at the coast,
Yeah, yeah.
at the beach. Um,
I do recall some like really sugary, tangy, chemically flat type of shit that you would eat, but I
that was
maybe
probably it.
yeah, but I wonder if that's from when we met
You
and
tried it.
yeah, maybe I don't know.
So I also like Charleston Chew,
That's funny. That was gonna when you said, would you say Laffy or Tangy?
Tangy
Tangy
Taffy,
Taffy. I thought of Charleston Chew.
Charleston
Yeah, I
Chew.
love those.
Yeah, Charleston Chew was so good.
Yeah,
So those were, and then Bit of Honey.
yeah, those are good.
I
Yeah,
liked Bit of Honey. I think Bit of Honey you can get like at places like Bass Pro
I
Shops.
feel like that shows up for Halloween only.
Maybe,
Like
gosh, I don't even know the last time I saw Bit of Honey.
I feel like at least when Nathan and Kai were younger, throwing their candy out on the carpet and
Yeah,
going through it.
but that's
Yeah.
like that was almost 20 years ago. They're older now. And then I loved Hubba Bubba. Hubba Bubba was awesome. That was my and Bubble Yum. Bubble Yum and Hubba
Yeah, it was
Bubba.
good. Yeah.
Those were my gums.
What about Big League Chew?
Nope.
You didn't?
I mean, I knew
You
of
had right?
it,
Yeah.
but I was not interested in that. No.
I loved that because as a baseball player, as a kid,
Yeah,
we mimicked the big league guys.
of course.
Yeah.
Because they chewed tobacco.
Yeah.
So it was completely accepted back then.
It was. I used to chew too when we were in high school.
So yeah. So I think that was more back then. I think it was a gender thing. I didn't know any girls that chewed Big League Chew. Nobody did. So that's so what's something on your list?
Well, let's stick to the candy.
Oh, okay.
I would say my favorite candies as a kid were Jolly Ranchers.
Okay.
And then Red Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Did you like? You're not
Red Vines.
Red Vines. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a West Coast thing or just because we did have Twizzlers, but I rarely ate Twizzlers. I liked Red Vines.
I do recall going to the movies, ordering like a Pepsi or a Coke, the big bag of Twizzlers, or actually we got to the point where you'd sneak them in, right? You go to the store and buy them and sneak them in.
Yeah.
And then drinking your Pepsi or Coke through the Twizzlers.
Yeah.
Right? Would
we
you
used
ever
to do that with Red Vines. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So good.
Yeah.
And then what was the first thing you said? You said Twizzlers and then what?
Jolly Ranchers.
Jolly Rancher. And didn't you sell those at school?
I did. Yeah, I had a nice little racket going. I'd go to the Acme, which they don't really exist too much anymore.
I don't think so.
Go to the Acme, could buy a bag for 79 cents, and then I would pack them up in my pockets and go sell them for like a quarter each in junior high. I had a lot of money on me at the, relatively speaking, I had bills.
What's crazy is that if those kids had even a quarter or two, they could have bought their own bag for 79 cents.
Yeah.
So I think it was a convenience thing.
I had access. I lived kind of
near you walked across the street. That's right, where you lived. Okay, so did you ever wear wide leg pants?
What are wide leg pants?
Like bell bottoms? No?
No way.
Not even in the 70s.
No.
When we were younger. Okay.
Picked on people if they did.
No. Okay, so
I'm on the East Coast. That wasn't cool.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so when I
maybe
was
it's me though, but it's
when I was in first and second grade specifically, I remember wearing, this is in Northern California, wide leg, we called them wide leg pants, but I think bell bottoms was the official name. And when you'd walk, they were so wide that it'd go swish, 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 like the corduroy.
Oh, yeah.
Corduroy?
Yeah.
They were corduroys. So the corduroy wide leg pants would, like, you'd hear it as you're walking. That was like a huge thing. So we all wore.
I feel like I would have to say almost my earliest recollection of bell bottoms might be like older girls in town, but maybe like the Bad News Bears, watching the TV show.
That's how I dressed.
Yeah.
Not like that show, like that was, I think you probably didn't you wear, like we would wear knee-high socks with the stripes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like with shorts.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd wear nylon shorts. The girls did. It'd be like nylon.
Like the blue,
like satiny shorts, like satiny shorts, even though I was young. And then the knee-high socks and sneakers.
Yeah, like blue Nikes or something. Well,
I don't even know the brand.
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, once I got to fifth grade, the Preppy Handbook came out. Sixth grade, the Preppy Handbook came out. Was that a thing for you?
I don't recall ever hearing that.
So
but we had a very preppy phase.
Well, so
but I don't recall the Preppy Handbook.
That was huge. At least that was when I was in Oregon, in Portland, Beaverton to be exact. The Preppy Handbook came out, and we all wore penny loafers, and we put pennies in our loafers.
Yeah.
Wearing pink and green, like a certain colored pink and green, like Kelly green, and like not like a hot dark pink, but like a bright light pink. Izod, or now they call it Lacoste. I mean, I think it was Lacoste then, but everyone called it Izod. Popping the collars.
Oh yeah.
Pop the collars.
Yep.
That was girls and boys wore that.
Yep.
And that was the whole thing. And then jeans. I can't remember what jeans.
What year was that for you?
That's like sixth grade. So that's probably like 80, 82, 80,
I feel
81,
like for
82.
us, that was like 8th grade or ninth grade, 7th, 8th, ninth grade type of thing. I remember
Okay.
going into my freshman year of high school dressed up,
Yeah.
like preppy. And then for the first day, second day of school, I think I was in sweats
Yeah.
and the team, logo type of thing.
Yeah, because you're playing
Yeah,
sports.
yeah.
But I think because I lived in a fairly metropolitan area,
Mhm.
and I think because you lived in a small town in a rural New Jersey, I think in towns like that, you guys got things a little, even though you're outside of New York City, I think you still got things a little bit later than people that lived in like in more suburbia.
Yeah.
Because we got things like that. Like we got MTV. That was on my list. MTV, I think it came August something 1981. I can't remember exactly the day. We got MTV the day it premiered. I remember coming home from school or whatever day that was and watching the premiere. Video Killed the Radio Star was the first video ever played on MTV. I remember watching that and I was addicted. And that's what I did. Like after school, after I get my chores done and all that, I'd watch MTV. But I think you guys got it after us.
Well, what's interesting is I have a cousin who grew up in Jersey City,
Yeah.
and I remember her telling us about it. And we didn't, to your point, we didn't get it. I don't think we got it till like, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade, maybe 6th, 7th,
Yeah.
whenever it was, but it was after the fact. I remember her saying, "You don't have MTV?" And she was shocked.
Yeah.
You country people.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, but MTV that was everything. And it was just videos. It was just music. We had VJs like
Yeah.
Martha Quinn and Goodwin. Mark Goodwin was one. Martha Quinn.
It really drove the music scene back then. Even the Grateful Dead came up with videos,
Yeah.
right? Everybody got sucked into
It
it.
changed everything because it gave us access to seeing who the music live, but without having to go. Like before that, you always had to go to a concert to see them,
Well,
or if they performed at a variety show on TV.
it wasn't even that. It was creative, artistic
Yeah.
videos, like just creative stuff. Remember the Michael Jackson Thriller video?
Oh yeah,
I
that was
remember
like
watching that
mini
at
movie.
Christmas dinner with the whole family glued in for like
Yes.
20 minutes.
Michael Jackson Thriller changed everything for sure. That was like a mini movie. That was a masterpiece. There's no
Mhm.
question about it. Culturally, it changed the landscape.
Mhm.
But MTV in general, any musician you liked, any band you liked, to be able to have access to them like that, to be able to watch a video of the songs you like on repeat. And it was constant. It was 24/7 music videos.
Yeah.
And nothing shocked me more than when MTV stopped playing music videos and it went into TV shows. I was shocked.
Yeah. Well, aren't there like 3 or 4 MTV stations, or isn't there like a classics and a
I think if
whatever?
you pay extra for that,
Okay.
but I don't even think that one plays all music. It's weird. Like VH1 used to be music videos, and then it went to
Yeah.
it went
Different
to TVs.
genre though, right?
Yes,
I don't even know what it was.
but it was more like soft rock
Yeah.
type stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Bolton and
Well,
stuff like
MTV
that.
kind of got taken over by rap. I remember Friday and Saturday nights,
Yeah.
it was all rap,
Yeah,
like Run DMC, and
yeah.
I don't even remember
They
the
would have
rappers.
like metal night too.
Yeah.
Or it was
Yeah.
just like Metallica and
They had the Headbangers Ball.
Headbangers Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. And then it like kids that don't know. There's a whole generation that's watched MTV as like a TV channel to watch shows.
Yeah, it's weird.
And they have no idea that that was not it at all. It was music television.
Yeah.
So MTV was really it is near and dear to my heart. It was a huge part of my
I think
childhood.
I know some musicians still do videos. Like Billy Strings just did one. He's done a couple, right? But I don't think it's really a thing per se. Like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they had great videos.
Yeah. No, I think that they still make videos, but it's weird. I don't know where you
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
them. So that's one MTV.
We sound like boomers.
I know.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
All right, your turn.
I was thinking, okay, so on my list, do you remember frozen dinners?
TV dinners.
Is that what they're called? TV dinners?
Well, I called them TV dinners. My mom,
probably.
we'd go to the grocery store and
Swanson's.
and we walked the aisle and I always picked mine based on the dessert.
That's so funny. I think I did too. And most people did. Like I like that red stuff, whatever the hell it was.
Oh my God, I forgot. That wasn't like a cherry pie, was it?
Something. Well,
That
I
was
mean,
one.
for me, like for me today, I don't really microwave anything. I
Yes.
honestly don't
They weren't
remember.
microwaved then, though. You made them
Oh
once. Not everyone had microwaves right away. Like when we first got TV dinners, you made them in the oven.
no,
Yes.
I don't think so.
And then once people started getting microwaves, yeah. But I started out with making TV dinners
That's
in the
hilarious.
oven, not
I
a
wouldn't.
microwave.
Because I don't use a microwave today for the most part. I don't know if I've used one once this year, and I remember nuking them, like over nuking them, and they had the plastic on top. You'd have to cut the hole
Yes.
to
Yes.
make sure you dessert. Maybe it stayed covered or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe the meat, if it was even meat.
It's so bad. You think about
But
you're microwaving and there's plastic.
yeah, totally. In some
and chemicals in that.
paper
Yeah.
tray that's lined with some waxy.
Well, when we first
film.
got them, they were in metal. That's why they went into the oven.
Yeah, what
Okay, so you have to
you
remember.
started earlier than me then.
Well, okay, so I had a single mom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So her and I would go and I'd get to pick out, it was a big deal. Like I'd get to pick out my TV dinners and we'd make them in the oven. And
That's hilarious.
the thing was metal. Like it wasn't the plastic or the paper or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think my mom's first microwave, it was huge and it was like $600 or something.
Yeah, and
It was
500 pounds.
giant.
Yeah.
And it was so heavy.
It's like the TVs you see.
Yes, it was like life changing, obviously. But yeah, the TV dinners.
Yeah.
And then I remember like the fried chicken. I can still picture the way the fried chicken tastes in those TV dinners.
So totally different way of getting to these TV dinners is I'm like our kids, very selective eating. So my dad would be like, what are you gonna eat? And I think I went in on TV dinners once and he's like, okay. So then I never went shopping like you did like this. It wasn't an event. It was just like there were TV dinners in
Yeah,
the
like
freezer.
because
And
you had a
I like
dad.
that turkey. Yeah, probably. But I love that turkey one with the sliced
Yes.
turkey with the gravy
Yes,
shit
and the mashed
and
potatoes.
the mashed potatoes.
Yes.
And we would over nuke it so it would like burn on the sides. And then
Yeah.
it was like plasticky, and that's
Oh,
so good.
that mashed
You
potato.
wonder why there's a health epidemic in
Yeah,
the
well,
world
but
today.
you know what? Back then, not everyone
Cancer.
wasn't overweight. Like people weren't. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
But the mashed potatoes almost tasted like Kentucky Fried Chicken mashed
totally.
potatoes.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
so good. And I remember I'd get the meatloaf one, but I think that's because it had the brownie or something.
Meatloaf. I forgot about it. Had that
Yeah.
weird like ketchupy
Yes.
line of shit at
yes.
the top. Yeah.
Yes. No, I love the TV
Yeah.
dinners. Do they even have TV dinners now?
I don't know if
Okay, I'm announcing something we're gonna do. So GenXAdulting is we're gonna go see if they have TV dinners, and if they do, we're gonna get them, and we're gonna do a live, and we'll have TV dinners, and people can come in and talk to
But
us.
you're gluten free. You think you're gonna pull that
There'll be
off?
something. Like I'll be able to eat something on there. I know.
We'll get the
You never-
turkey dinner. You can have my corn.
There you go. You never know. Now there could be gluten-free turkey
Yeah.
dinners with the way life
I'm
is.
gonna double up.
Okay.
I'm gonna double up on the food thing. Did
Okay.
you ever have Steak-Umms?
No,
Really?
I did not even know what that was till I met you.
Really?
I still don't really know what that is.
It's like super thin sliced. They said it was beef.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But it was super thin sliced beef
Yeah.
that you would fry in a pan with like either butter or like in my dad's case, he'd save the oil because my dad cooked.
Yeah.
He'd save the oil in the can and spread a little oil in there. Throw a couple Steak-Umms on, dump a ton of salt and a ton of pepper. So good.
So wait, was it frozen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're buying like frozen sliced beef,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
and then your dad would just take it apart and like cook them.
Yeah. Yeah. You would almost get like, because it would be like maybe that thick or something. I don't know, something like that. And you'd kind of get a knife and you'd separate them and then throw them in the frying pan. And
Do they
So
still have
good.
Steak-Umms?
I don't know.
Okay, well I'm gluten free.
I
can
would eat some of those.
Steak-Umms. All right, we're gonna have to go on like an old. We'll do an old school. Find some tangy taffy.
Mhm.
In fact, if anyone listens to this, and you want to put in the comments, food you remember, we'll try to find it.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a live one night with all the different foods. So, yeah,
I feel like
that'd
this
be
is
cool.
a trip to Walmart,
Maybe
right? I don't know if
I know Publix might have it.
maybe Target.
Okay, so did you watch Electric Company?
Electric Company. Which one was that? I
So
did, but I
yeah,
just don't
it was
remember it.
like just these funky
Yeah.
people singing, and it was like one of
Oh,
those
the dancing
shows.
show?
It was like Sesame, so there was Sesame Street,
Mhm.
Mr. Rogers, and Electric Company. But
Yeah,
Electric
I
Company
remember.
was like hip and cool.
Yeah.
Like it was cooler. And that guy wore bell bottoms. I feel like he was in yellow. No, orange. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting confused with Yo Gabba Gabba because Yo Gabba Gabba has Electric Company vibes. But so when I was in daycare, we would all sit around one of those TVs. It's like the wooden TV, and all of us kids would sit around it, and we'd watch Electric Company. We'd watch Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, and also at home I would watch Mr. Rogers too. 'Cause remember he had those weird puppets, the old people or the
Yeah,
king
yeah,
and the
there's a
queen, those
weird stuff going on
creepy
there.
puppets.
Yeah.
Now that I look back, I'm like, those were weird puppets.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did love Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah, all his messages. I
Yeah.
loved how he came in. The OCD in me loved the fact he came in and put on new shoes. He had house shoes. So he took off the shoes that were dirty
Mhm.
and he put on his I was obsessed with that. And then he put on a new jacket, his cardigan
Yeah,
indoor,
switch
took off his
sweaters.
jacket and put on his cardigan.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I love that about Mr.
You
Rogers.
know, a lot of people pick on him for being weird and stuff, right? He's
Do
kinda got
they?
he's got that reputation of just being kinda weird. Same with what's his name? The painter, Bob Ross?
Bob Ross.
But these are kind of in hindsight and modern times, these guys are fairly wholesome,
Pure.
pure,
Pure.
wholesome, decent people.
The
We
kid,
kinda could use a little
yeah,
more.
I think so too. I love so many lessons.
Yeah.
The trolley. The
Yep.
trolley would take you to that land where
Do
the
you remember,
puppets were.
Mr. Ed?
I never
'Cause
watched Mr.
Mr.
Ed.
Ed was in the same
Never
like
watched
the
it.
why? Because of animal rights type
No,
or
no. It was just never on. I never watched
what
it.
about the Beverly Hillbillies?
Yes.
Okay.
I watched that and I watched Little Rascals.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love Little Rascals.
Yeah.
It was all black and white.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then Leave It to Beaver.
Yep.
And I Love Lucy. But
Yep,
all of
yep.
these were black and white.
Yeah, Honeymooners.
No, I didn't watch that.
You didn't watch that?
No, isn't that weird? I didn't watch that. I didn't
So
watch
when I
Mr.
was a
Ed.
kid, 7th, 8th grade, 9th, whatever, we would go roller skating every Saturday night
Yeah.
and come home.
That's a core memory.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a core memory. We'd roller skate, come home around 11:30ish, catch the tail end of a Yankee game if it was still on, watch Star Trek, and then the Honeymooners. But I don't remember if Honeymooners was first or second, but I'd watch Star Trek and the Honeymooners. Honeymooners every night. I've seen every episode of the
Really?
Honeymooners. Yeah, 100%.
So Star Trek, I would watch like after school time when I'd get home. Like there'd be reruns.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't watch it
Oh, we caught the
like
real,
the night.
yeah, the night of.
No, it was okay. So the night of shows,
Well, Saturday Night Live too.
I didn't really watch that till I got older,
Mm.
but I remember being in second grade and Steve Martin premiered the song King Tut.
Yeah, yeah.
And my mom and my stepdad were having a party. This is Northern California. It was like margaritas were flowing. I was in my room and I had a little TV, black and white, and it was on my dresser. And I remember sitting in my room and watching that, and I was mesmerized by that song. It
Mhm.
became my favorite song. Like that and the whole King Tut movement of
Mhm.
like 1978 or something. Like, remember? I don't know about you, but it took over.
Yeah, yeah.
Like on the West Coast, like everyone was talking about King Tut. I think they had discovered King Tut or something. It was
Uh,
around that time.
Ma-
I think they had discovered his remains.
That would make sense because why else would Steve Martin be doing a bit on it? It
Yeah,
probably was topical.
it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But that song was awesome. I could
Yeah.
still sing that song. That song and his whole shtick with that. But it's speaking of like shows that I did not miss, and I think these were on Saturday night, and it went in order. And I don't want to get the order wrong, but I believe it started with Chips,
Yep,
Love Boat,
yep,
Fantasy Island.
yep.
Every
I
Saturday.
actually had them on my list.
Okay.
They were earlier. I think actually I want to say Fantasy Island came on at 9 o'clock.
No, I think Love Boat came on at 9 and Fantasy Island came on at 10.
Oh, really?
It did. I remember. And because I could stay up and watch it because it was a Saturday. And then I loved Three's Company.
Yep.
That was a different night. That was a
Yep.
weeknight.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Laverne and Shirley
Yep.
and
Yep.
Happy
Happy
Days.
Days. Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Trying to think. Oh, and Alice.
Yep. Alice's Restaurant.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yep. Yep.
Love that. And I love
Yep.
that song. I
Yep.
still love it. Sometimes Yacht Rock will play it.
Yep.
And then, oh, what's that other one where they're in a news station?
WKRP.
No.
Did you just say that?
I did. They're
Okay.
reporters in a news. Barney, it'll come to me. It's a bunch of reporters. It'll come to me.
I know what you're
You
talking
know what I'm
about.
talking
Yeah.
about?
There was also, I had on my list, the People's Court or Night Court, whatever it
Night
was.
Court. That
Night
was
Court.
like when we got a little older.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's like middle schoolish.
You know what's
What
wild?
about
We're saying all this, and I'm trying to piece it together. Like, how did I watch Saturday Night Live, The Honeymooners, and Star Trek? Like, what? And plus Yankee games. I don't know how that it's all blending, because those were Saturday night shows. I watched Saturday Night Live every episode from when I was like
I didn't
super
watch it.
young.
I would see it sometimes, but I think I was in bed by then.
We actually, so this is great. I guess this is a core memory, but and every Saturday night, my parents would go out with my aunt and uncle,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd go. And this is pre roller skating days.
Okay.
That's how this lines up. We'd go to my Tara's house,
Mm-hmm.
Aunt Lorraine and
Your
Uncle
cousin
Tommy's,
Tara's,
my
yeah.
cousin Terry's, and they would all go out to the bar, Thayer's Bar in Andover or Byram, New Jersey, and we would spend the night there. And we had this babysitter who would watch us because we were all pretty young. She was kind of mean. She was a bitch, actually, from what I remember. But we'd all stay up and watch Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
So it's cool.
So
I was young.
Yeah.
Really young.
I don't think I was allowed to stay up. I mean,
Yeah, because it ended at 1 a.m.
Yeah, because I remember once I got older, I would like middle school, I would watch it. And then but I do remember watching John Belushi and like Rosanna Dana and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I caught it at different times enough.
Yeah.
What about Starsky and Hutch?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep.
That brings me to my next core memory.
Actually, with the Dukes of Hazzard, I remember recording the intro to Dukes of Hazzard on like a cassette tape, like these up here.
Like the song.
Yeah, the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the thing.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
that on like Instagram, like GenX memes and whatever.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the struggle of putting together a playlist, the
Oh.
struggle was real.
Do you remember listening to Casey Kasem Top 20 Countdown?
100%. Every Sunday morning.
And then you'd
Yeah,
have
yeah.
your boom box. I
Yeah.
would.
Yep.
And I'd take a blank tape and I would, when it was a song I knew I wanted, I would hit record.
Yeah.
So I would make a mixtape off of Casey Kasem's Top 20 Countdown.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. And I would wait, and then you'd still have to stop it. And you'd have to, pay extra attention so that you could get the beginning and the end of your song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid going to Sunday school, and then my dad usually drove us, and we'd be sitting in the car sometimes and sitting, waiting instead of hopping out for the number one song because it was the
Yes.
countdown.
Oh, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And I never missed that.
I remember
love
when
that.
Foreigner Urgent was number one.
Yeah.
That was a big song, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so did you have a metal lunchbox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
So
gonna
I
have to
had
give me a minute to think of what one I had.
I had Dukes
but
of Hazzard. I had a few because
yeah,
every year I got a new one.
Yeah.
I know I had Dukes of Hazzard. Gosh, I can't think what. Oh, I wish I could remember what other. But I know for sure I can picture the Dukes of Hazzard one. And can you hear that sound when you click the thing and you open it? And then did you have a thermos inside that matched?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100. Yeah.
I didn't even bring soup to school. I think I would fill it with water because I wanted to use that thermos so bad. So the lunchbox was like, for years, I would get the metal lunchbox. So that's
But
one of my.
I think that's all they made,
probably
right? We didn't necessarily grow up in a plastic generation.
No, and then it switched to plastic.
Yeah.
And then it switched to plastic. Okay, so do you remember Grease being a big deal?
Oh yeah.
The movie Grease.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember going to see it in the theater?
In the movie theater?
Yeah.
I think we saw it for the first time at the Newton Drive-In.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I feel like
In a drive-in.
I think we saw it
That's
at the
another
drive-in.
thing.
Yeah.
Drive-in. I remember vividly the night we went with my mom and my aunt and my uncle and my cousins. And I remember sitting down The movie Grease changed my life. I had never seen, I think I was in, oh my gosh, that would have been like 1979. So that was probably what, like second grade. I, it was life changing. I remember leaving there and never being the same again. There was something about that movie, the music, the magic of it. And I still cherish that movie. And I remember one of my good friends at the time, Alicia, she had jeans and on the back pocket was the Grease symbol.
Oh,
I wanted those so bad.
we
Oh my
actually have the
gosh.
Grease album.
It's mine
Yeah, I know.
that I got
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I remember going with my stepdad to a record store and picking out that album. And I don't even know how he bought it, but I would listen to, it was a double album. I listened to that album every day. I can't even tell you, for at least, I don't know, for years. Like I loved that. Grease was like pivotal for me. And
It's
I
fascinating.
wonder if for all Gen Xers, if they like, if it was so monumental. Maybe just girls. I don't know.
No,
'cause
it's absolutely, even for boys, it had an impact
I
because
would
they
think
had the boys,
so.
the greasers
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah,
right? And the
yeah.
racing and the
Yes.
whole water thing and
Yes.
the drama and tension of,
Yeah.
this is, and then winning Sandy and seeing Sandy go from like
Yes.
prim and proper to this, like this hot badass in leather.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll never forget when she walked up. I was mad because I thought it was a different woman.
Mm.
Like it took me a minute to realize she had transformed because I was like 7
Mm-hmm.
or 8 maybe. And I thought, oh my God, another woman's trying to steal Danny. And then it was her. And I was like, and then those leather pants she had
Yeah.
on. Oh my God. So that was,
That was Olivia Newton-John, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So all boys my
amazing.
age,
Loved
I think, had a
her.
crush on her.
Okay. So her and what, Farrah Fawcett, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Of course, Farrah Fawcett was a little boy's sex symbol type of thing.
Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne Summers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheryl Ladd, I think.
Yeah.
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 The Daisy from the Dukes.
Yes.
You know.
Catherine Bach. Okay, so Charlie's Angels. That was
Yeah.
on a different night.
Yep.
And then oh, you just reminded me of another one.
Well, let me ask.
Oh, the Bionic Man.
Yeah.
And then the woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, but no, so the
I
million.
Dream of Genie.
No, it's the $1 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. Remember, it was Lindsay Wagner
Yeah.
was the Bionic Woman. I was obsessed with that. I liked the $1 Million Man, but I loved the Bionic Woman.
Was that what the hell's his name?
Lee Majors.
Yeah, Lee Majors. And that's when it would go.
Yeah.
And he would be like super strong and shit. And going deep. Yeah.
Okay, what about the Hulk with Lou Ferrigno?
Oh yeah.
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 And there's a funny thing. I saw a meme about back then we didn't have CGI. Our Hulk actually had to have muscles. Like those are his muscles, you know? So those were all on, but then Charlie's Angels and I think they were all kind of sex symbols.
I have 2.
Okay.
One, just thinking of the plastic stuff, and I had it on my list. You probably never had a Stretch Armstrong, right?
No. Was he red?
No, he was. The guys have to remember this. He was this figure. And talk about plastic. He was figure like this rubbery shell in a body, right? It was muscular body with like blonde hair, and you could stretch him, and you could pull them in different directions. We all had it as kids.
So kind of like the movie The Incredibles.
No, not even.
Okay, not even
Stretch
close.
Armstrong.
Okay.
This is
Stretch Armstrong. I've never heard of Stretch Armstrong.
That's amazing. Really?
Yeah. But I bet that's because I'm a girl. I'm sure Stretch Armstrong was on the West Coast.
Oh,
I don't
100%.
know.
No,
if there is any
Stretch
listeners...
Armstrong was like probably Hasbro or
okay,
like,
yeah.
So here's the other one. When you mentioned Grease, now I can go there with Grease, but were you a Footloose person too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
That was life changing.
Yeah, that's what I was curious.
The opening to that movie was like insane.
Why? I don't remember it.
It was the song, the Footloose song, and then it was like feet dancing.
Yeah.
You know, but
like
it was
tapping or something.
But that song is insane. That song is still so good. And that was Kenny Loggins.
Yeah.
And I remember I never heard anything like that before.
I was gonna stand up, but I just messed up your video. I was gonna grab a cassette for people who don't know what a cassette looks like.
Well, I think they can look on the internet. Yeah. We have, at some point, we should do a tour of the studio.
Yeah.
To show people. We should do a live or something. Because there is a whole bunch of cassettes hanging over Brian's head right now that he's collected over the years. Most of them are Grateful Dead bootlegs. Okay, so what was I saying?
The
Kenny Loggins. So that was
Yeah.
Footloose. But then he sang a lot of good ones, like for Top Gun. He sang
Kenny
Danger Zone.
Loggins did
Yeah,
that?
Danger Zone.
Really?
Hmm. Yeah, he was hot in the 70s and 80s. That was the Kenny Loggins.
What was his
peak.
was he a musician or
Remember,
a singer?
it was Loggins and Messina is how he started out.
Yeah, no, I love
They're amazing.
Loggins and
I
Messina,
know.
yeah.
Down at Pooh Corner. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
But then he took off with he had like I'm All Right and This Is It, like a whole bunch of good
Why
songs.
don't you sing those?
No. Anyways, Footloose, life changing.
That's what I figured.
100%.
I can't say I agree. I mean, I respect it,
Yeah.
but it's not. I had a feeling it was more, I think, a chick flick where,
Yeah.
you know,
Everyone fell in love with Kevin Bacon.
yeah.
100%. I was obsessed.
Isn't his wife the star in that? Like his real wife?
No, Kira Sedgwick. She's in that. I discovered Kira Sedgwick in Singles, that movie Singles, which is another good Gen X flick. The Singles, if anyone really wants to know the vibe of the grunge movement in real time, Singles was filmed.
That has what's her name in it?
That has Kira Sedgwick. It has Bridget Fonda. Chris Cornell makes an appearance in it. So does Eddie Vedder.
Yeah,
Matt Dillon.
But who's the one? The one that I liked.
Who? Oh no, you're thinking of Reality Bites.
Yeah,
Winona Ryder.
Okay, Winona.
Reality Bites, another excellent Gen X flick. Oh my gosh, so relatable. Love Reality Bites. That's actually on my list.
You know what I saw today? Actually, and this really pisses me off that we were not dialed in. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, and Nirvana, I think it was. It was a triple billing at the Salem Armory.
Wow.
In 1992. So we were in Oregon.
Yes.
We were within driving distance of Salem.
Yes.
And the tickets were like $16 or something.
We were in college.
Yeah, we should have gone.
That's crazy.
It's so stupid. We missed the.
That's though where you without the internet, you didn't know everything that was going on.
Not at all.
So you had to either
You had to be dialed in on some mailing list, probably.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like I don't know how we would find out about stuff, but
Imagine that.
No, that would have been insane. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, so I know you know that this. I know this is a core memory for you. Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit.
My favorite movie.
I know.
Yeah.
And then Cannonball Run.
Oh, 100%.
So those had that vibe, right? I was watching those when I was like in first grade, and there's nudity. There's like, there's a scene in Cannonball Run where the one guy watches Behind the Green Door, which is a porn.
Yeah. What was the I'll use a nice term, the larger guy, Dom DeLuise?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a comedian, right?
He was great.
Yeah.
And then do you remember that movie Convoy?
Oh yeah.
With Chris Christopherson.
Absolutely, yeah.
So do you remember that like truckers were big for a while? Like for CB
my West
radios.
Virginia days.
Yeah, and CB radios were like a big deal.
Yeah, we had a CB radio.
My dad had one.
Yeah.
And
I actually want one. Just
a CB
for the record. Absolutely.
in the car?
100% for my Jeep.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, there was like a whole trucker thing.
Yeah.
It was the same time
there was remember
Tut.
BJ and the Bear?
Yes.
And then there was like something about Big Ben or something.
Big Ben.
I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing stuff, but
oh, do you remember the guy who had like 7 girlfriends? He was a trucker and he had 7 girlfriends, and I can't remember the name of it. But that song,
I don't remember that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, somebody's gonna know. But it was a trucker guy, and he had 7 girlfriends. It was something about. Oh gosh, I can't remember now. It'll come to me though.
You know what was Smokey and the Bandit? Could potentially be embarrassing, but two of my best friends, my buddies Matt and Kevin, and I would watch Smokey and the Bandit very frequently in high school. Like after school, like we'd watch it.
You were still watching it.
We're still watching it. Yeah.
And Smokey and the Bandit too as well, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't as good. The original was the.
Yeah, I remember going to see Smokey and the Bandit with my dad, or I think I have a good memory of that, of Smokey and the Bandit too. Okay, so did you have one of those viewfinder things that you would go click, click, like you look at it like binoculars?
Oh yeah,
like in
with the
binoculars,
circular thing, and it had little
discs.
pictures, and you could and it would advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could pick the type of, like you could pick like Europe, and it would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like
yeah,
pictures of different countries
yeah,
in Europe,
totally.
and
Yep.
I love those.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like a
Man, I
toy.
forgot about
Yeah,
those.
and then you didn't have a banana seat on your bike, right?
I did. I had a Huffy Buckaroo.
And you had a
When
banana seat?
hell yeah.
Okay.
I forget. I had to be young, 5th, 6th grade, maybe something. But I had the
I
Huffy Buckaroo
yeah.
with the long banana seat and the bar that the kind
Yeah.
of the thing, so you could press your ass on that and then do wheelies.
Oh, well, I was not doing that.
Yeah.
But I loved my banana seat. And so
hmm
I had that when I was like
I think
first grade,
all
second grade,
bikes
third
maybe had
grade.
them.
Did all kids' bikes
All
have
kids'
bananas?
bikes. Yeah.
I don't know why they got rid of them. Banana seats were
Super
comfortable.
comfortable.
They were
Yeah.
so comfortable. Okay, so this is so random. Okay, so you woke up. I think most Gen Xers Saturday morning cartoons were the highlight of our lives.
I was bowling.
You were bowling on Saturday morning?
Absolutely.
So wait, you didn't wake up.
No, I did. I did. I think I would wake up, and again, a lot of the stuff blends, right?
Yeah.
Because you jump into different things over time. But it wasn't wake up and go do some like recreational sport per se until you hit a certain age.
Yeah.
Like it feels like with our kids, it's like get up and go.
Right.
No, but yeah, the cartoons. Remember, like they had those Olympic things
Yes.
and the Smurfs. The Smurfs
Yes.
were all the rage for
And
a
like
while.
the superheroes, like
Yeah, yeah.
Superman, Batman.
Yep.
What was that Olympic thing? You just totally unlocked a core
Yeah,
memory where
remember
it was
that?
like animals competing.
Yeah, they were competing and they had announcers and they were like
Yes.
almost announcing it like adults. They were probably saying inappropriate shit, but we had no
Yes.
clue.
I can picture it now, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally forgot about that
yeah,
show.
yeah,
We have to find out what that show
yeah.
was called. I love that. So I would get out of bed, make cereal,
Mm-hmm.
probably I think it was like a sugar cereal, like Frosted Flakes or
Yeah, that's all we
something.
had.
And I would sit in front of the
Mm-hmm.
TV and watch Saturday morning cartoons for like 3 hours easily.
I feel like I would do that and then go bowling. I used to bowl every Saturday morning for some age period. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I do remember it was during the Smurfs because the Smurfs, everyone at the bowling alley's talking about the Smurfs.
Love the Smurfs.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with the Smurfs. I
Papa
remember when the
Smurf,
all of it.
Little Daisy Smurf, whatever the
No,
hell.
no, it wasn't Daisy Smurf. I can't remember her name, but no, I was upset. And I had all the figurines. They had Smurf figurines, and I had them all, and I would like play it
It was
like with my
like
Barbies.
that Cabbage Patch
I was
Kids
never into
era.
that.
My sister and cousins were. But
Yeah, that whole thing. I'm sure my mom was thrilled that I was not into Cabbage Patch at all. So, because remember, there was like fighting.
oh yeah,
It was a huge deal. People were getting in. It was a big deal. No, I was into Barbie. I was so into Barbie. I had so many Barbies and Kens and the Smurfs.
I played Barbies.
You played with your sister and
Yeah,
cousin,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I
Yep.
would play Barbies. So that's one thing about yeah, I didn't grow up with siblings, so I spent a lot of time on my own,
yeah.
and I would do a lot of like make believe play and stuff. Okay, so do you remember there was a Folgers commercial where the sister like answers the door? This young man shows up the door, and a girl answers the door, and it's his sister, but the way they're acting is weird. Like you almost would think it might have been her boyfriend, but you come to find out it's their brother and sister. It was the weirdest Folgers commercial.
I have
Do
no
you remember that?
No
Oh
recollection
yeah,
at all.
I remember that. It was like she made him coffee before anyone wakes up, and then they're like giving eyes to each other.
Oh, wow.
It was very weird. So you don't remember that
Not at
Folgers
all,
commercial?
no,
That was on
no.
all the time, and I remember being so uncomfortable with that.
Do you remember that commercial that was I can bring home the bacon?
Oh yeah,
What was that?
that was a perfume.
Yeah, okay.
Like I'm gonna say it wrong, like Anjali,
yeah,
wasn't that?
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, that lady was dancing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I completely remember. Yeah,
yeah,
that was the beginning of the brainwashing of
yeah.
women.
That's where you guys gave up your femininity, or
No, it's where we had to buy into we can do it all and took on everything instead of demanding, okay, you want us to go work outside the home, you need to help 50-50 in the house.
Yeah.
The domestic conversation never happened.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this in other episodes, but that commercial is part of the propaganda that was fed, because I remember watching that and
Mhm.
thinking, even at a young age, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
do it all. I'm going to do everything.
Actually, it's funny you say that because as guys, we were like, she was hot, and it's like I got to get me one of them.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
And therein lies why
Yeah.
why the Gen X women are hitting midlife and telling the men, I'm out of here if you don't
I need a
buckle up.
hot woman who fries it up in the pan and
and makes money.
Yeah, it does the whole
Raise your
thing.
kids,
Yeah.
cleans your house,
Got to get 2 of them.
does your laundry.
Yeah.
No, it would take 2 or 3 to truly do it. No, no one can do it all and do it all well. Somewhere along the line,
Don't give up.
yes,
Don't give up.
somebody is not getting what they should, whether it's at work, whether it's with your children, whether it's your house, whether it's you got me started. You got me started. It's a whole thing. Anyways, did you keep a comb in your back pocket?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
When I was a girl.
The black comb.
Was your hair feathered? My hair was so feathered.
So when we'd go to the roller rink, right? You go to the roller rink, you got the comb in your back pocket. You start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So us girls, we did more of like checking our hair, but it was parted down the middle, feathered.
Now, was yours a black comb or like a purple one that kind of was bigger? Because I kind of remember those too.
So it wasn't like the boring black. It had the handle and it was some sort of glittery, pretty color.
With ours, we had the kind of the wider teeth and then the narrower teeth in a way.
No, this was just like a cute comb.
Yeah.
Like a girl comb. So speaking of roller skating, I also loved going to the roller rink. That's a huge core memory. One of the things I remember from it is Private Eyes by Hall & Oates. They would play it.
Oh, yeah.
And when it would go everyone would stamp their skates. I remember that. I love the roller rink.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Yeah.
I wish that was a thing still. I think they're around, but I just think it's such a novelty now. It's probably so expensive. All right. Do you remember when arcades appeared?
Yeah.
Like we were alive when there were no video games.
Yeah.
And then when arcades
That's
appeared.
not true. We had the Atari 2600 and we had the
But we were alive
TV
before
with
all
the
that.
bong and
But we were alive before that. You know what I mean? Like when we were young is when video games came about.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Atari.
Yeah.
What was that? Pong?
Yeah.
So Pong. But then arcades.
So we, at the bowling alley, they had arcade games.
Yes.
So you'd bowl.
Yeah.
And then after bowling, you'd put your
quarter.
quarters in and play games.
It was a quarter.
Like Dig Dug, Asteroid, Pac-Man.
And then Ms. Pac-Man.
Soup. Yeah, yeah.
But Pac-Man, remember when Pac-Man came out? That was huge.
Yeah.
That was huge. I was so good at it. I was so good at Ms. Pac-Man. But it was a quarter.
Yeah.
It wasn't, we put our quarters in. It was a quarter.
There were some games, though, that then they jumped to 50 cents.
Yeah.
Well, and that got a little
everything.
offensive.
Yeah. But I remember going to arcades and spending time in arcades. And you literally, what you did there was play games for like hours.
Where was your arcade located? Like we had one. I was trying to remember.
Mall.
The mall. Same with us.
Because we would go to the mall and just walk around.
Yeah.
Okay, so Orange Julius, did you have that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nothing is so as good as an Orange Julius. They were so good. Oh, I loved them. It was like a creamsicle.
Yeah.
So we would walk around. We'd go into the arcade. We'd go to Orange Julius. We'd go to Spencer's.
Yeah, totally.
And there was like inappropriate stuff in there
I love
that I totally didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And there was like Frederick's of Hollywood, and it was like, ooh.
Yep.
Because I think that was before Victoria's Secret really took over. I think Frederick's was our lingerie, you know.
What I liked about Spencer's was, besides all the inappropriate shit, was the black room, or the black light room.
Yes.
With all those cool
posters. I totally
posters.
forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Black light.
Yeah.
Black light posters.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing.
Yep.
That
one
would
of
be
my
cool
favorites
to do.
was
the
Jim Morrison poster. Do you remember that one? It was the Jim Morrison black light poster.
No, not vividly.
That was so cool.
I forgot about the black light room.
Yeah.
So would you spend a ton of time at the mall?
A lot. Yeah, no, I was going to say that's one where I don't think the kids do it a little bit, but they burn out of it. But yeah, the malls for us went from a young age all the way up through high school.
Well, because we were there at the beginning of malls.
Yeah, probably.
So the mall was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Because it was new.
Even for like our parents, probably, let's go to the mall.
Yeah. No, the mall was everything.
Yeah.
The mall, it's such a nostalgic feeling.
Yeah.
Going to the mall, and it would just be this wonderland. You could spend hours there with your friends. I feel like back then, and I could be wrong, but I feel like maybe there were more stores that kids could go in, like middle school, high school age kids could go in, where now, I don't know, like, you know, there's like Lululemon and like stuff like that, where I think there was more like fun stores too.
Well, for us, from what I recall, we had the arcade.
Yeah.
Then you had like Walden Books. We'd go in.
Yes.
Spend a lot of time in there. We had a baseball shop card. I used to collect baseball cards.
There's none of that now.
There's a record store. I might have just said
Yes,
that. They have the record
record
store, right?
stores.
You'd walk
Okay,
up and down the
did you have
aisles.
did you have Tower Records?
Tower came later, but I don't. It felt like we had the record store kept changing for some
You
reason.
just completely unlocked a memory for me. So in the mall, one of the things we would do is go to Tower Records and spend like a solid hour
Yeah.
easily looking through all the albums. Like that was what we did. And on the back behind the cashiers were the new albums, like that had just come out. So
Oh
you
yeah,
could see what was
yeah,
new.
yeah,
Tower Records was a place as soon as I would get to the mall, first stop, Tower Records.
yeah.
And I would buy 45s. You remember
Oh
45s?
yeah,
We still have them.
yeah, yep,
So many 45s, and you'd have to put that little plastic disc
yeah.
in so you could play it. Oh my gosh.
Quick sidebar on the vinyl. So the Grateful Dead just released the Beacon Theater 1976 on vinyl, and we got to get it. Just
Okay.
a reminder.
Okay. Do you remember when Walkmans came on the picture?
Yep, yep.
And what a big deal that was to be
huge.
able to wear your music and walk around,
This is kind of
literally.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of Walkman. But that was huge.
And actually, people don't realize. Well, young kids don't, right? They
Yeah.
have earbuds
Yeah.
with, Bluetooth. We had those like headphones that were not big like we're wearing. They weren't these.
No.
They were kind of that in between
Yes.
fuzzy thing
Yeah, and then there
over
were
the ear.
and then
type
there
of
were the
thing.
small ones that
Yeah.
were like it was just the metal strip and then a small thing
Yeah.
right here.
Yep.
Yeah, no, Walkmans, that was it. You'd put your
Yeah.
tape in there.
When I was
And yeah.
when I was in high school and we'd go to away games, I remember I would listen to. I had a Walkman with the headphones we just described. I'd listen to Bob Dylan, "Blood on the Tracks,"
Mm,
to these games, and
yeah.
back and forth. I'd listen to that album
Yeah.
500 times.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, it gave us the ability to listen to music
Yeah.
outside of our home,
Yeah.
outside of a car.
Yeah.
It allowed
And choose your own music instead of whatever was coming on the radio.
Yes, it gave us autonomy when it came to our
Yeah.
own well, before that was boom boxes, right?
Yep.
But then if you walked around with it, it's loud. Everyone can hear. This was like
Inconvenient.
yeah, this was your private experience. The Walkman
Mhm.
gave you that. Honestly, it was between that and MTV, I was like, and Tower Records, I was in heaven. Um, did you okay, so do you remember there were smoking sections everywhere we went? There were smoking
Yeah,
sections in McDonald's.
We actually had a smoking section at our school.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Where the
yeah,
smokers went.
Yeah.
But like any place, even if you went to McDonald's,
Yeah.
there were ashtrays. And there was
Yep.
smoking.
Yep.
Airplanes had smoking. Airplanes.
I don't remember. I guess they
They
did.
did because
Yeah.
I remember I'd fly back and forth between
Yeah.
Oregon and Michigan. It was the back.
Yeah.
Like that made the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Is that okay? It's just in the back. Every restaurant, when the hostess would ask you how many people, and then the second question was smoking or non-smoking.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they were everywhere you went had a
I think
smoking
that's an
section.
improvement in the world.
Oh,
You
for
know,
sure.
obviously.
But at the time, we were just used to that. Like
Mhm.
no matter where you'd go, smoking sections.
Not just used to it. I remember driving, and I think I've talked about this in my relatives' cars who would smoke.
Yeah.
We'd be in the back seat without seatbelts in a big sedan,
Yeah.
cruising along the roads, and they'd be up there smoking
My
and
mom.
blowing it in the car.
That was my mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my mom smoked Virginia Slims. Okay, so did you bite your pencil? Do you remember biting so we'd all have the yellow pencils, right? The number 2 pencils.
Yeah.
Do you remember biting your pencil?
I do, but not like a
Like just where it was all bit.
yes, but not really. It's not a core memory.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to bite I love the way not
Yeah.
that it tasted, but just that feeling of biting
Yeah.
into the pencil. And then do you remember
It's funny you say that. I remember the bite and how it broke through the paint, and then you'd get to that next layer, then you'd move on. That kind of
Yes.
crazy.
And I can like not taste it.
I can smell it,
You can
taste it.
smell it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then did you go to the pencil sharpener just because you were bored and wanted to get out of your seat?
Yeah, 100%.
But then that thing would always be just a little close enough to the wall where you'd get your knuckles. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
So you kind of would have to hold it
Yeah,
and do it, and it would have that sound.
yeah.
But it was.
I remember, sometimes you'd be like this, but I remember doing it and trying to make enough noise to be disruptive to the class to be that.
Why does that not shock me?
Yeah.
Why does that not? You were Dennis the Menace. There's no question about that.
I was a good student.
So, yeah. Do you remember how we used to, like, not you and me, but how we would slow dance in high school?
Yeah, yeah.
You hold your arms straight out.
Yeah.
It was either that or you were like totally hugging and like as close as you could be.
I don't think I ever did the closest you
No,
could be.
no.
Well, maybe for like prom, because by then I had a
Well, that's
girlfriend
high
and
school.
stuff.
I'm talking about middle school. But like the back and forth, just one step, one step. Yeah. But I loved middle school dances. Like, so Tears for Fear, all the 80s, like Madonna, Prince, Tears for Fears, Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Like that was our Michael Jackson. That was our music at our middle school dances, and it was new. We would dance. Like
I would never danced.
You didn't? Did you go?
Yeah, but hindsight, I was too immature to be there and embrace it, right?
Yeah.
Other kids were. I was probably mocking them out of insecurity, realistically. But
well, did boys dance that you remember?
A handful. Well, when we were in 5th or 6th grade, maybe a little earlier, we had a breakdance club. Remember breakdancing?
Yes,
so we had a breakdance club. I wasn't in it. I couldn't do it again. That wasn't my thing. But there were some guys who were breakdancing and spinning and shit on their heads and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember actually at Helen Morgan School, we were in pods.
Yeah.
Like they had a pod. Here's your 5 classes for 2nd grade, and here's the pod over here, down the hall.
Yeah.
And I remember these guys, they had breakdancing and like the whole, it was like embraced, kind of like, hey, so-and-so's going to breakdance and everyone's watching.
Breakdancing was like a big deal. And they wore parachute pants. That's what got parachute pants.
Yeah, I had parachute pants. Everybody
and like
did.
the windbreaker, matching windbreaker
members
or whatever.
Only. Yeah, members only.
Okay, so I never wore members only.
I had a members only jacket.
I think
everybody did.
I don't know. So we did OP, Ocean Pacific.
We had OP too.
And then of course Polo.
Yep.
And okay, so OP, Ocean Pacific, Guess.
Yep.
I remember Guess overalls were big.
I was never into Guess, but that was more of a girls thing.
Yeah. And then Izod's.
Yeah.
Okay, so the cologne was that green polo.
Yeah, which I still like.
Okay. And then Drakkar.
I was never into that.
So Drakkar was huge among the boys. Yeah. But no, to bring back to breakdancing, I forgot. That was like we were there and breakdancing appeared.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Just going back to the fashion stuff.
Yeah.
I had a pink Ralph Lauren polo jacket.
Yeah.
In like 8th grade or something. So I was all in on that.
Well, that was Miami Vice, right? Or had Miami Vice shown up yet?
I don't know.
Well, no, a pink, that would have been Preppy, the Preppy Handbook.
Yeah.
But when did Miami Vice show up for us? Like maybe 9th grade?
Yeah, maybe.
Because then it was the white linen blazer, pushing your sleeves up so you could see your forearms. That was like a whole thing.
We had a friend whose dad was an exec at Ocean Pacific. So he had all the OP stuff.
Okay.
And then everybody got into OP.
Yeah.
And Ralph Lauren, like polo was huge.
Yes.
Members only jackets were huge.
Yeah.
Serengeti sunglasses, I think they were, right? Do you remember?
Oh no, we were Ray-Ban.
We were not Ray-Ban until probably a little bit later.
We were so Ray-Ban.
They had those aviator ones. Remember they had the glasses and they had like the little side things.
Yes.
Maybe they were Carreras, like for Porsche Carreras.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might have been more the guys.
Probably.
But when Risky Business came out,
that probably changed.
It was all about Risky Business.
What year was
all
that
about
for us? Wasn't that high school?
Ray-Ban, probably.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I remember the black Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
Did you have Swatch?
Yeah.
And you could change the faces or something?
I had a black Swatch watch I bought at the Macy's counter for $35.
There you go. I love my Swatch watch.
I did too.
And then Vans back then were checkered.
Yep.
So they were either, you could get red and white checkered, which are the ones I had.
Yep.
You could get pink and white.
I had pink and white.
Okay.
I went through this whole
preppy, you went through a preppy phase. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you wore them with no socks.
Probably.
Yeah. And then you could get black and white. And I think you could get blue and white checker too. But it was all checker. Like the way Vans is now is not how it was.
Van is a shoe now.
It has like actual like chill styles. You can still get the checkers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they have clothes. It's a whole thing. They have
But when we
hats.
bought Vans back then, they were like 30 or $35. I bet the
If
checkered
that,
ones are like 135,
probably.
right?
I feel like they were $25 or something. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love my Vans so much. Okay. So did you, on your Christmas tree, did you have either like that
Yep,
tinsel
yep,
decor, or
yep,
was it
gold.
like was it the ones where you would take a string of tinsel and put it on your Christmas tree, or was it like the rope type tinsel wrapping
So for
around?
me, 2 memories would be we had the rope, the gold rope, and we'd do
Yeah.
it as a family, work
Yeah.
it around. And then my Aunt Lorraine and Uncle Tommy had the stuff you'd put up
You'd put
there.
on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And some families would kind of toss that on,
Yeah.
but then some families would do one at a time.
Why?
I don't
How
know.
would you know
My
that?
grandma did it.
Oh, okay.
My grandma did one at a time, and I don't know. I think she enjoyed it, probably because she had 4 kids, and it was the time she could be like, "Leave me alone. I'm
Did
decorating the tree."
did you grow up being afraid of Christmas trees burning down your house?
Of course.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was a daily
Yeah,
occurrence.
yeah,
I thought every Christmas,
yeah,
like half the people I knew, their Christmas tree was going to catch on
yeah.
fire. Okay, were you afraid of quicksand? Because for some reason we were all supposed to be afraid of
I
quicksand.
think I'm still afraid of quicksand, even though I've never seen or been
No,
around quicksand,
but
but I picture it happening.
everything we
Yeah,
watched, quicksand.
yeah. That's
Something could
funny you say
happen.
that. Roadrunner and
Yeah.
Wild Coyote, Tom and Jerry.
Star Trek. There's quicksand in one of the episodes.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh no, there's quicksand in Fantasy Island.
Yeah,
I'm sure Chips had a quicksand episode where
yeah.
they had to come save them. Okay, what about the Slee Stacks?
They're my
Land of the
favorites. Yeah,
Lost.
totally.
Those things would freak me
Have
out.
you ever seen that meme where they show the slee stack and it's like when your mushrooms just hit?
No.
It's a slee stack. Oh, it's hilarious.
And then was that the only dinosaur? That wasn't a dinosaur movie. Oh, Land of the Lost. Was it dinosaurs?
Yeah, but we've talked about that other one. You remember this where that I can't even describe it. It's like this round thing with like Shaggy that was like living in a house and they lived by a beach. That'll come to you. I can't remember the name of the movie, or the show. It was like a show and it was like this I can't even describe it.
Picture that now.
Yeah, we've talked about it, but
Gosh, I can't even picture that. You know what's a trip is for us, like Disney movies weren't a thing. Those really started, I mean, they were, but it
actually,
was like Pinocchio.
don't you remember? Yeah, but Disney on Sunday nights with Herbie the Love Bug
Yes.
and the Waltons,
Yes.
right?
I loved Herbie the Love
Yeah,
Bug.
yeah,
All those movies. What
yeah,
oh, what about the Pink Panther?
yeah,
I
yeah.
love the Pink Panther.
The cartoon?
The
Or
cartoon.
yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't really into the guy. The
yeah.
live action
No, it was
detective guy.
weird.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
weird.
Do you remember
But
Mr. Magoo?
I didn't watch that.
Oh, you didn't watch that?
No.
What about the
I think
gorilla
I
in the
think I
window? How
did.
much is that monkey in the window or the
Oh.
Magilla gorilla?
It
Don't
sounds
remember that?
familiar. That was that when we were young, like kindergarten.
I don't know. It all blends, man. It's
I know, but I think that was when we were younger. But I forgot about Herbie the Love Bug.
Remember the Waltons? They'd be like, "Good night, Ma. Good night,
Good
Pa.
night,
Good
good
night,
night. Yeah,
Jimmy."
I didn't watch that as much as Little House on the Prairie.
Oh yeah,
I loved Little House on the Prairie. I've
yeah,
seen every Little House on the Prairie episode.
yeah.
I watched that. I read all the books. I was obsessed
I
with that
definitely didn't
family.
read the books, but we used to watch it. It was like Sunday nights, right? Wasn't that kind of like
Something.
Little House on the Prairie,
Yeah.
Herbie,
And
Waltons,
Waltons.
and
I think
yeah,
I went to bed when
yeah, yeah,
Waltons.
yeah.
But
Oh, the other one, Grizzly Adams.
loved Grizzly
Remember him?
Adams.
Yeah.
I love that show. I loved Grizzly Adams. That was a great
There's
show.
another one, actually, Mutual of Omaha.
That was
Remember
like
that?
the Wild Kingdom
Yeah,
with
Wild.
the animals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was cool.
yeah.
But
Yeah, Grizzly Adams was
Grizzly
great.
Grizzly Adams was cool. I was trying to think there was something else you said. It'll come back to me. Okay, what else? I wonder if we covered like everything that I wrote down. I'm reading it real quick. Uh Saturday morning card. Oh, did you ever do Columbia House where you could buy like a bunch
I
of
think I
tapes?
did it as an adult too
Yeah.
once. Yeah. I think we changed our name or something, right?
I
Yeah.
remember doing it, I think in high school or something, and I got like, what would you get? Like not 100 tapes.
I don't
No, it wasn't
remember.
100.
This, well,
It was a lot for a penny.
you know what I did actually? Um, it was something like that. It might have been Columbia House, but I got this whole blues collection. I've got like the Robert Johnson and the Howling Wolf and all these incredible blues artists. I have a
Was it
wonderful,
from that?
yeah, something like that.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay, did you ever have a radio, a stereo in your car that you pulled out?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So in my first car was a 1965 Apple Red Mustang. I had no business receiving that car. It was the most gloriously beautiful car I could ever have wanted. It was my dream car, but I was 16 years old and I crashed it twice. I had no business driving that car, but it was fast. But I had a Kenmore pullout in it.
Yeah,
And
Kenwood. Yeah,
Kenwood, what did I say? Kenmore?
Kenmore, yeah.
Kenwood. And so when I would go to, like, I was in high school, if I went to dinner, like my friends or my boyfriend, I would bring it into the restaurant or I'd put it in my bag.
Oh, you had the removable plate?
No, I pulled the whole thing out.
Interesting.
No, I had the whole thing and I would put it in my bag.
Interesting.
And then when I get in my Mustang, I just put it back in. Yeah. I would take it with me.
That's weird. Why?
So no one would steal it.
Yeah.
It was a removable.
That was a thing. Like when we were younger, people would break into cars and steal shit.
Yeah.
I had a 76 Chevy Monza and
I don't even know what that is.
The stock car came with an 8-cylinder motor, right?
Okay.
And mine had a 4-cylinder.
So that's like a V8, right?
It was a V8. Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of sitting, if it had the V8, it would have sat flat, right? Aerodynamically designed.
Yeah.
Mine had a 4-cylinder, so it faced up a little bit. Totally dangerous. Changed the dynamics of how you steer. But I paid $250 for it. My parents did.
Yeah.
And my stereo.
That's amazing.
I had a whole Pioneer system, and I put it in myself.
Yeah.
Ran the cables. I had speakers in the doors, 6-inch speakers in the doors.
Yeah.
Then 6x9 speakers in the back.
Wow.
So that was a whole thing.
And that doesn't sound like a very big car.
No, it was so loud. It was amazing.
Get in and it was just crazy.
It was awesome. Yeah, yeah.
That's a Monza. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but that sounds like it was a good time when she got in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you ever, you probably never went through this, but, and I don't know if this is just because of my upbringing or whatever, or if it's a girl thing, but did you ever threaten to run away?
Not that I recall, but not that I recall.
So I would say I'm going to run away, like a decent, but I think there's kids who had a normal upbringing and also did this if they had, like, were upset with something.
Our daughter.
Well, yeah, that's true. She did it when she was like 3.
Yeah.
But one time I grabbed my white teddy bear. I love that teddy bear. I think I still have it in our storage unit somewhere. I grabbed my white teddy bear and like a doll. And we were at my mom's friend's house and I left. And so it wasn't even my neighborhood. And I think I made it, and I would have been kindergarten or first grade. I think I walked for 5 minutes, and which is a long time to walk for 5 minutes as a little kid. And then I remember that feeling of, okay, I'm like far.
And no one came after you?
Well, no. So right as I felt like I'm far, which was probably like 3 blocks.
Yeah, yeah.
I turn around and my mom's running towards me. So yeah, like she ran and got me. But that was the thing, is like I'm done. I'm gonna run away. But actually that time I tried it, and then you get that feeling. Like, did you ever lose your mom in a store?
I remember like hiding under, like being I think I was at Macy's and hiding in like the clothes.
Oh, so you traumatized your mom.
I feel like I did, but I thought it was funny because I was hiding in like the rack of clothes, right?
Of course,
like,
yes.
Brian. And I think I feel like the store manager got involved.
Nice.
I don't remember if this happened or not, or if I'm imagining it, but I really think it happened.
I feel like your mom has mentioned something about
feel like
this.
Yeah.
There's a few. I wish she would come on because she'd have some good stories.
Yeah. Oh, she probably has the tea.
Yeah, she does. I remember she told a story about you didn't want to go to dinner and you guys battled about that, and she threatened to break your fish tank with an axe if you didn't go to dinner.
Yeah.
And another time she cut up your pants because you wouldn't go to dinner.
Yeah.
This should have been red flags for me that you don't go to dinner.
You know what's funny is one time very true. She used to cut my hair at times or like do like a trimming. And I remember
Yeah.
once she nicked my ear,
Yeah.
and your ear bleeds pretty good, right?
Yes. Yeah, the
And I
face
remember
bleeds.
seeing it, and then I pretended to really be in pain
Oh,
and started crying.
oh my God.
Yeah, that wasn't cool.
You tormented.
No,
So I
it's all
wonder,
good fun.
like, I
It's all
was
good fun.
I was the type of Gen X kid, and it could have been because my parents were divorced, remarried to other people, la la la. And I came from chaos. That's a totally different episode. If anyone's interested in that, go listen to probably episode 13, and you'll hear my story. But so I was like pretty compliant, and
Yeah,
I wanted friends, and so I followed the rules.
yeah,
I think you were the opposite of that.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was
Like,
an asshole at times for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you could get away with more back then. Kids could get away with more back then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's almost like when you ask if, you know, did I ever run away? It's like that didn't, I don't think that entered my mind ever. I don't even know any friends that did. And I feel like I know of some people that didn't, and we're like, why, huh? What is this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So you guys were just very stable, very fine, and you were more running the show.
Yeah, I feel like I ran the show kind of, and,
Yeah.
and I ran the show in many ways, not 100%, but relatively compared to what you're saying. And,
Yeah.
I had a lot of control or autonomy, but also had a good, decent thing going.
So do you think there's things you did though as a quote unquote bully then that now kids couldn't do or get away with, or somebody's parent would probably call the school over?
Yeah, probably.
What were
Yeah.
some of the things you
I
did?
don't want to sell myself out, but I will say this, like, I was thinking about this because, you'd planted the seed, but we used to throw snowballs at cars.
Yeah.
Um, as when it snowed, it was like, cool, but actually, we didn't wait till it got dark. We used to throw eggs at cars.
Mm-hmm.
That was always fun. We would do ding dong ditching,
Yes.
and that was fun too.
Yeah.
I'm glad kids still do that.
Yeah.
Mischief night, we would TP houses, trees,
So we
that
TP'd,
kind of
like
stuff.
when we would have a sleepover at like a girl's house, we would sneak out. Like
Mhm.
all of us girls would sneak out with a bunch of toilet paper, and we would TP houses.
Mhm.
That was the thing. I
Soaping
don't,
cars.
what is it?
Yeah, we used to take soap and put it on windows of cars, and either
No,
write things or just like really cover like the front window and shit like that. You never did that?
no,
Oh, that was
never did that.
the thing.
I don't think I never threw eggs at cars. I
Yeah.
did throw eggs at houses once
Yeah, we did that too.
when we were TPing, and
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, did you put rocks in your
No,
snowballs that you threw at cars?
no,
Okay,
no,
so you didn't go that
no, we didn't
far.
go that far.
Did you ever steal stuff?
Yeah.
Like from like a 7-Eleven?
Yeah, yeah. 7-Eleven or like the Acme or whatever. Yeah. Not
Can
from people.
candy?
Yeah, my Jolly Ranchers, I would
You
steal
sold
those. 100%. Yeah.
so that was all profit.
100% profit. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So how would you steal? Where would you put it?
All right, so I had this, well, you could just, I had this Izod jacket that had hand pockets like this, right? You'd put your hands,
Yeah.
like kind of put your hands through here,
Yes.
and you could kind of
Like
do
how
this.
hoodies are.
Yeah, like a hoodie,
Yeah.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
example. I remember there was a hole in the pocket. So once the hole created, I was like, rip it a little more. You could shove a whole bag in there and just wrap it around.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Were you the only one that did that, or were you and your
No,
friend?
no.
Did they ever catch on that we're missing stuff every time this group of kids comes in?
Well, it wasn't like a group thing.
You do with like one friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like you go and just clear out the place. You got to
Well,
be.
people do that now.
No,
But
that's
yeah,
what I'm
okay.
saying. This is very
Covert.
juvenile, covert
Covert.
shit in your pants the whole
Yeah,
time, and you
yeah.
don't think you're good till you can't see the store anymore.
How many
Like,
times did you do that?
I don't know, enough to remember it.
Did you sneak into movies
Yeah, yeah,
without buying a ticket?
yeah, yeah. Well, but like, who was telling us, Lou, right?
Yes.
In one of our previous
He
podcasts,
would let people in.
I had a friend who worked at,
Okay.
yeah, at
And
the
they'd
Sparta movie
they'd let
theater.
you in.
You'd go knock on the door, and
Yeah.
they'd let you in. Yeah.
Would you prank call?
Oh, absolutely.
So what
Yeah.
were some of do you remember any of the prank calls things you'd say?
No.
We would prank call, but and when we first did it, it was like your refrigerator's running. Oh, you better go get it or something. It was like dumb
Yeah,
jokes like
yeah,
that. But then it just was like breathing
yeah.
or saying like just I don't know what it was, but we would prank call a lot
Yeah, 100%.
because there was no caller ID. It was
Yeah.
all landlines,
Yep.
and no one knew.
Well, there was a way too where you could block your line because caller ID came out, but there was a way you
Eventually.
could punch a code in and not show your number.
Yeah, that's later on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we were middle school, there was not caller ID.
Yeah.
That was more high school. Like what do you call it? Phone how you can record a thing, like leave a message.
Yeah, the voice mail or
What's it called?
the answering machine.
Answering machine.
Yeah.
An answering machine. So I remember when answering machines showed up, and I think that was like high school with
Yeah.
the landline. And I
Yep.
remember it was a big deal till it, like the message.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like as we got more comfortable, we'd play music and like say, "Hey, leave us a message." Like
Yeah.
it would be like a whole production. It would be a production
I don't recall that. Yeah. That
For
sounds
the
like you and your mom.
for the
Yeah.
answering machine. Or I could just do it. Like she would
Yeah.
let me take over, and it'd be like, "You've reached da 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 da." But I would have like bells and whistles.
Yep.
There was like a director's cut. It was a whole thing. I had fun with that with the answering machines. And then it switched to voicemail on cell phones.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
answering machines were cool because you'd come home and
Oh,
it'd
yeah.
be
If
blinking.
it's blinking,
And
yeah.
you're like, we got messages.
I think we actually had one too that told you the number of messages you had.
Yes,
Yeah.
you have 9 messages
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
like that. And then you'd listen to it. And do you remember when it first
Half of them were the same person who just screwed up leaving the first message. Like, what
Oh,
the?
okay. Now, do you remember when they first came out? It was on a tape. It was like a little
Oh, yeah.
tape
The
in
little
there.
micro cassette.
And so there were times like if your tape got messed up, you lost
Mhm.
your messages. Like that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember like having to share the landline with your family?
Oh, yeah.
So you'd get like, did you and your sister ever have to battle over phone time?
My sister actually got her own number when
Oh.
she was in like 9th grade or something.
I remember kids who would have that, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, you got your own number. I
Yeah.
remember I had my own phone in my room in high school, but I did not have my own number. But I had my own
Well,
phone.
It wasn't just sharing the line, it was making sure no one picked up the line while you were
Yes,
talking.
and listen.
Yes, and
If
listening.
you're talking to your girlfriend or your boyfriend.
Yeah.
No, that was the whole thing.
100%.
But I remember when I finally got a phone in my room, I didn't have to sit out in like the living room and be on the phone, or like I'd take it. The whole cord I could go in the garage.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'd pull it into the garage and I'd be on the phone in the garage. So
Yeah.
that was the whole thing. Do you remember always thinking there's going to be a nuclear war?
Yeah, we grew up in that. Remember that movie Red Dawn?
Red Dawn,
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in the Cold
War.
Cold War, yeah.
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 But we would do drills and we'd have to go under the desk. Did you ever do
I
that?
don't remember that.
Yeah, we would do that. Like if we were going to get bombed by a nuclear bomb, going under the desk is
Yeah.
what's going to save us. That's what we thought.
You know, what's interesting is so I was up in Birmingham a few years ago with Nathan and Ben, and I actually took a picture because there was a sign on a brick building of saying like nuclear shelter. You
Yeah.
don't see that too often,
No,
right?
no.
And it was like nuclear shelter, and it's like pointing down here, go in the basement.
Yeah. No, and I remember there was a movie called,
Red Dawn,
no, that one, but then there was a TV movie called like The End or
like
something.
propaganda for sure.
But no, but it was like a Hollywood movie, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But it was about the end of a nuclear war happening. I remember that. I wish I could remember the name of that movie. But Red Dawn is such a Gen X movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a group of movies. Red Dawn, The Outsiders,
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Breakfast Club,
Yep.
16 Candles,
Mhm.
Tex.
What?
Tex.
I don't remember that.
That's with Matt Dillon.
I don't
So the
totally-
woman that wrote Outsiders,
Yep.
S.E. Hinton, she wrote Tex. She wrote That Was Then, This Is Now.
Mm.
They made movies on that. So that was like a whole genre. So you didn't did you read The Outsiders?
I actually read part of The Outsiders. I'm not a big book guy, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've seen the movie at least, a bunch of times. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
And
movie.
then Pretty in Pink. Did you ever see Pretty in Pink?
Yeah. Yeah. But it doesn't really resonate.
So there was that whole John Hughes genre. And then because that's Breakfast
I
Club
feel
and
like
all
those
that.
are more girl movies.
Probably.
I
But
remember like St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's
that
Fire.
one,
That's
right?
all. That's in the same.
Yeah.
Say Anything. That's where he
No.
holds the boombox up, John Cusack, outside her window. That's
I don't
iconic.
think so.
That's what
Honestly,
all of us,
you know,
the Gen
going
X
down the
women, think that's, we should have expected that. We didn't, but that's what we should have held to, is hold the boombox out our window.
I would say I was more of like an Animal House guy.
Yeah.
The Wall, love The Wall.
Yeah, but I'm talking, yeah, I guess, yes, the Wall, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually you're like,
And the Blues
Stone.
Brothers. I love the Blues
the
Brothers.
Blues Brothers. Okay,
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Right? That whole, and that's one of those series where they did like 20 of them, but in the first several were pretty good.
I think it was just 2, but okay, Police Academy.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
That had a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Rocky.
Rocky, yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I personally think I love Rocky and Rocky 2,
Mm-hmm.
but my Rocky is Rocky 3.
It's funny you say that. Yeah.
Mr. T. I think it's because that was like, we were that a little bit old enough to really appreciate it.
Which Rocky did they fight the Russians in?
Rocky 4.
Okay, so I saw Rocky 4 in a movie theater in West Virginia, Morgantown.
Yeah.
And you know, the whole place is going crazy. Go, get him, Rock! Get
Yeah,
him, Rock!
yeah,
the
yeah.
the place is screaming.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was good.
No, that was, and then Terminator.
Yeah, the whole series.
That's our time.
Yep.
That's Gen X's time, is Terminator.
And what's the other one? First Blood?
First Blood?
Right?
Yeah,
With
that's
Stallone
Rambo.
Rambo.
Rambo. Like all of that.
Yeah.
So you really think about like the first movies I mentioned, The Outsiders and that genre, and John Hughes and that genre, and then Rocky and series and the Rambo series, and
before
Revenge
you
of the
wrap it up,
Nerds.
the Friday the 13th.
Okay,
Halloween,
then horror. So
the horror
we had
stories.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Like we were there when all this stuff came original.
Yeah.
These were not remakes.
Yeah.
These were newly created movies, screenplays, everything.
Yep.
So yes, we had Friday the 13th, we had Halloween, and we had Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Those were like our big, and it just Jaws. We were the generation.
Still Freddy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
We were the generation of Jaws.
Yeah.
Okay,
we were the generation of get the shit scared out of you if you turned on the wrong channel.
Yes, true.
Really?
So true.
Yeah.
That is so true. Did you ever see Piranha?
Hell yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I saw it in a drive-through. So my mom and my stepdad were watching the movie in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
They brought me with them to watch that movie. I turned around and watched Piranha. I think I was 6.
Yeah.
And I was horrified.
My best friend had red belly piranhas as pets.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was awesome. We'd go to the mall,
Yeah.
buy goldfish,
Yeah.
come back and feed them.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they, they'd go crazy like the movie.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. I remember thinking like, I'm going to have a time in my life, along with the quicksand,
Yeah.
I will encounter piranha.
You know, now that we live in Florida, piranhas survive here.
Yeah.
I know we don't have a piranha population that I'm aware of, but they survived down here.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember there was like a TV movie about ants that killed, like they swarmed people and killed them?
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound familiar?
I don't know.
I just remember there's a scene in the movie where a little boy falls in a dumpster and the ants get him and kill him. I was watching that. I think I was 6, 7.
Yeah.
So ants, then that was a whole thing to add to my list.
Remember like Revenge of the Body Snatchers?
I didn't see that
Kinda
one
weird.
when I watched
I
it
think
later.
that came out and it was 3D.
Are you talking
That's
about
what they did. It was a 3D movie, and I think it was Revenge of the Body or
And-
something of
well,
the
there was
Body
Close
Snatchers.
Encounters of the Third Kind. That was Alien. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Do you remember E.T.?
Yeah.
The phenomenon of E.T.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like you can't duplicate that. You cannot culturally duplicate the phenomenon of E.T. Raiders of the Lost Ark, that whole thing.
I wasn't totally into that.
Really?
Not really. There was
I
Star
love
Wars.
Star Wars. Like we're the generation of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Think about that. And Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
All of that. So you look at everything we just talked about, all those movies, and you compare it to what is being offered in theaters for the last 10, 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. Like there's nothing that, it's so few that something comes out that's of such quality and originality as what we got in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I would say those 3 decades really put out some of the most iconic movies, and it made it worth spending the money to go see a movie. Of course, it wasn't as expensive as it is now, but it made it worth it. Where there's really nothing at this point where I'm like, yeah, that's worth it. You know, it'd have to be something big.
I can't even think of, I don't watch movies anymore. There's
No,
no
you'll watch,
entertainment value
yeah.
to me
No,
at
but
all.
that just, and I don't even think our kids really like we
No,
were, they're not like a movie generation
no.
like how we were. I don't think, I could be wrong. I don't know if the millennials feel this way. I don't know if Gen Z is like a movie generation.
I
Like
feel
that was
like
such a part of our
everything now,
culture.
everything, it feels like, and I'm semi-ignorant on this, but it feels like there's some message or some political bend or some, it's not just some creative, imaginative
Yeah.
thing.
Like it has an
It's
agenda.
got an agenda, it feels like.
Yeah. I don't know. But even, and like I said, we didn't really have Disney movies. We did. They were the older ones, like the Pinocchios, the Cinderellas, and all that.
Hmm.
But that whole phenomenon of like the real big, like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, that was more when we were in college.
Yeah,
And that's when Disney really ratcheted it up.
yeah.
Um,
Do you remember like Arthur?
yes.
Remember that show
That was
or
such a good
movie?
movie.
Yeah.
Yes. There's so many. You really, 9 to 5? 9 to 5 was a great movie.
9 to 5.
That was with Dolly
Oh,
Parton and
Dolly
Lily.
Parton. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's when women were entering the
yeah.
workforce. It was such a good,
What
such a
was
good
the one?
movie.
Is it Willy Wonka?
Well, yeah, there was Willy Wonka and the
Yeah,
Chocolate Factory. They've remade that a few
yeah.
times. Like Johnny Depp was one, and then
I'm just trying to
what's
think
his
back
name?
to like the Richard Pryor movies.
Oh,
And even
oh my
stand-up
gosh.
comedians, right? Stand-up
Yes.
comedians, that was great. Completely, I don't know
Yes.
what the right term is, politically correct right term is, but the
It
shit they would say
it was
was
just raw.
hilarious, raw.
Well,
Yes.
okay, so we had Richard Pryor, we
Hmm.
had Eddie Murphy,
Yeah,
like all in their prime.
yeah. No, to me,
Um,
like Chris Rock's kind of close.
yeah,
He's done pretty well,
yeah.
right?
What about George Carlin though?
Oh,
I
amazing.
mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
man was brilliant.
amazing. Yeah,
Oh, you just made me think. What about like Private Benjamin with Goldie
yep,
Hawn?
yep, yep,
And she made a couple movies with Chevy Chase that I loved. Like they were like a little duo for a
yeah,
while.
yep,
Caddyshack, hello,
yeah, totally.
and
Yep,
Meatballs.
yep, yep.
Caddyshack and Meatballs. And then did you ever see Little Darlings?
What is that?
That was with Christy McNichol. That was like kind of racy a little bit.
I think so.
It's
I
like
had a crush on her as a
yeah,
kid.
it's totally
Yeah,
inappropriate. Like, well, of course, if you look back now.
yeah.
But
Blazing Saddles. Just before I
Blazing
forget. Yeah,
Saddles. And then what about all the
Animal
Mel
House.
Brooks movies?
Yeah, those are great. The
History of the World Part
history. Yeah,
1,
those
Part
were
2.
great. So inappropriate,
So
but I remember being
inappropriate.
like 5. I
Yes.
don't even know. Whatever it
But
was.
so funny.
Yeah, the world.
So
What's his name? The weirdo. Was it not?
Robin Williams?
No. He's not weird. The real Woody. No. Something. The guy who'd married like a 15-year-old or something, and the guy in New York.
Oh, Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
I was
Yeah,
never a big Woody
yeah,
Allen fan.
yeah.
I was never
No, yeah,
I was never really big into his movies. I think I don't know.
he did well, but
Well, yeah.
yeah,
No, there's definitely a huge following, but I was never really, but you just think about all that. I don't know. And this could be just the Gen Xer and me talking like you guys don't know like how it was, but it was just so much, it was so quality and I don't see it now,
Do
but
you
again,
do
I
you
don't know.
think though, like, are we just being nostalgic and thinking that something was cool and it really wasn't? And I mean, it's cool because we think it's cool, but is that just not happening today?
Well,
What?
I think what I see is a lot of remaking of that. So
Yeah,
I see a lot of attempting to remake stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. And like the Star Wars thing, they just keep
yeah.
continuing,
That's like,
continuing.
yeah,
But I don't know. I haven't seen anything like super original. Even Titanic was amazing and Schindler's List.
yeah,
Those are like
yep.
90s movies.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank
Yeah,
Redemption. So anyways, but just we were a generation of a movie culture because even Reality Bites, which is such a phenomenal Gen X movie, we we just that was part of our culture. I don't know if it's as ingrained in the Gen Z culture. I don't know. I
yeah,
really don't. I know our kids will sometimes go see a movie, rarely. Although I will say, um, our older son was there for all of Harry Potter
yeah,
and
yeah.
loves, and then well, our kids love the Harry Potter movies, and our older two love the Lord of the Rings, especially our older son loves the Lord of the Rings. Those are quality original movies, but again, those were made in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why I say I feel like in the last especially 10 years, I'm not sure because even the American Pie movies were good.
Yeah,
You know,
those are
those are
good.
good
Yeah.
movies, and those are
Yep.
like what early 2000s or
Yeah.
mid. So
Yeah.
something I
The
feel.
first one was.
I thought the second and third
What
one
was
was
the
good
other
too.
one we like with the dude in Texas? The 1976 School's Out for Summer.
Oh, Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And then you have Talladega Nights.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
Ron Burgundy,
Yeah.
Anchorman.
Yeah.
So, but again, that was over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
crazy.
don't know. I
You're
know.
getting old.
I
But
know. But we had some good movies. But Red Dawn, that brings us back to Red Dawn. Red Dawn, I can say for myself, after I watched that movie, I 100% believe that that is going to happen and that I will experience it. I thought that was part of our culture as a nuclear war.
Yes.
It was a reality.
Yeah.
That we lived really until the Berlin Wall came down?
Yeah.
And then we thought, oh, okay,
You know, it's
we're not going to
interesting.
get bombed.
So our son was at the UFC fights in Miami and he saw the president.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I think it was maybe sophomore, junior year, I went and visited my friend in Grand Rapids, and I went to a Berlin Wall, what's the right word? Ceremony. It was, they were giving a piece of the Berlin Wall to the local, place there in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
Gerald Ford was the president.
Okay.
Right. He was the president. He did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
No, that's cool.
It was cool in two fronts. I got to see Gerald Ford, probably 30 feet away at most.
Yeah.
And a piece of the Berlin Wall got knocked down, which was very nostalgic for us because they showed videos of people tearing it down, and it was interesting.
No, it's a historical thing. No, do you remember? Were you? I don't know if it reached you because in Portland this was big, but like the punk rock scene, like the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Like
New York City.
Okay, so I remember we'd have like in downtown Portland, like stores you could go to, and it was all like punk stuff. But I would wear like the high tops, and you like color them with Sharpie and stuff. Like it was a whole thing.
I didn't do that.
Okay, yeah, we went through that for a little bit.
What grade? What age?
It was like maybe sophomore year.
Yeah, by then I was more into the Dead.
See, I didn't get that until end of sophomore year.
Okay.
So this would have been maybe like ninth grade into sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
But the Sex Pistols and that whole punk rock scene, that was all really big.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have been familiar with any of the sports at the time. Like, I mean, I knew the Harlem Globetrotters. Remember when we were growing up, the Harlem Globetrotters were a big deal. They were a huge deal.
Yep.
And then I feel like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders were a big deal for a while. That was like a whole phenomenon, right?
Yep.
But I don't remember anything else with sports. Like, what would have been the teams?
For me, it was the Yankees. I remember becoming a Yankee fan in 1977, so I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Become a lifelong Yankee fan. The Raiders were good back then. The Steelers were good.
Yeah.
The Dodgers versus Yankees was a big rivalry.
What about
Cowboys were the hated team? We hated.
Oh, were they?
Oh yeah, everyone hated the Cowboys.
What about the refrigerator?
Yeah, William the Refrigerator Perry.
Yes.
He played for the Bears. Yeah.
The Bears.
Number 72.
And then
back then it was Jim McMahon. He had the glasses and everyone would give him shit. And he's like, I have an eye condition. I need them. Whether it's true, I assume it is, but they did the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yes.
Remember with the Bears?
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. And then I remember the Bears. Remember on Saturday Night Live, the Bears.
Yep. Yeah.
With Ditka.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember that, but that was probably more like when we were in college.
So another thing, what was really cool for us, I remember being a young kid and being at watching Mike Tyson fights on Saturday afternoons.
Really?
When he was coming up and he was a kid and he was knocking the shit out of people.
Yeah.
He'd come out and it's like, all right, you got to watch Mike. And he would knock out men in seconds.
Yeah.
And he was so much fun to watch. It was awesome.
I knew nothing about that.
Oh, it was amazing. I remember watching that as a kid.
Yeah.
The other thing too as a kid was Magic versus Bird, right?
Oh,
Lakers versus Celtics, right?
That
was always
that.
big time
Yeah.
stuff.
And then I remember Michael Jordan coming on the scene.
Jordan came along. I remember watching Jordan as a kid, and Jordan put up 65 points and they still lost. And he was their team. And then eventually they built a cast around him. And,
yes.
And they,
I remember
rest is
that.
history.
I remember that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, like, the Super Bowl wasn't a big thing,
That's
probably because I didn't have a dad in the house.
like, geez, the 49ers, Joe
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Montana,
yeah, I
Jerry
remember that. I
Rice.
remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah. So I guess if it got really popular in mainstream, I remember it, but I didn't follow any
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So,
I was a sports guy.
yeah.
You know, I was all in, and I loved sports.
Yeah.
I've, you know, tracked each pro team and all of that. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that so I think we pretty much had very similar experiences. There's just a few deviations there.
I think what's interesting, if you think about why, probably because um, culture's very cultivated,
Mhm.
right? And everyone watched TV back then. I
Yes.
don't really watch TV anymore. I watch the
Right.
Masters today, but off
Yes.
and on.
Yes.
But TV really drove things. So, you know, it's the news and then all the
Yes.
programs we talked about.
Yeah.
And then the music, it was the top 40 until but not really, because I had older friends, so I was listening to the Doors and the Stones and and other bands like that,
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin,
Yes.
um, AC/DC, all these other bands that were
Yeah.
not necessarily top 40. But the culture was very cultivated across the whole country.
It was contained.
It was contained.
It was a contained culture.
Yeah.
And you're right. Everyone was watching TV. Like everyone experienced the MTV phenomenon at some point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all had, yeah, you're right, because the internet's made the world smaller by connecting
Yeah.
us to the world, but we're not all similar. We're not all having this. I wonder if kids nowadays are having as similar experiences as we did because it's just so vast now.
You know what's funny is, I think I told you this, but one of my friends on Facebook has a freshman in high school up in New Jersey, and they posted a picture, like a lacrosse picture or something. All those kids look like all the kids down here. They're
Yeah.
wearing the same clothes. They all
Yeah.
have the same haircut.
Yeah.
They all have that same vibe.
So
And it's a trip.
that could be the connecting them to with from social media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe social media is now the TV,
Probably
you know, as far as like connecting
the scrolling.
the culture though, connecting the
Yeah.
culture where for us, and maybe that's kind of taken the place of like movies too, in a way, is
Yeah.
YouTube and social media and all that. I don't know, but you're right. Like if you look at social media, the boys all kind of have the same
You
haircut.
know, though, if I think about it, I remember being in 5th grade and we had the teacher was Mr. Spice. And during, I don't know, whatever, some open time during the middle of the day, maybe it was raining or whatever. I don't even know, but we'd be able to play music. And I
Yes.
had friends who had played the Beatles. I
Yeah.
never really was into the Beatles. And I was in AC/DC phase back then, Zeppelin, AC/DC, Stones. And so when they got the record player, they'd play the Beatles.
Yeah.
We'd play AC/DC. And so, but I bet we all watched Little House on the Prairie or whatever, right? The same
Yes.
shows. Maybe there's this common theme
Yeah.
with deviations. And I think will always be, and it's how it is today.
Probably. It's so funny you say that because when I was in 6th grade, my teacher, Mr. Hausman, he's so cool. He's a doctor now, like Dr. Hausman, but he had a record player and I would bring in all my 45s and I
Mhm.
was like the DJ.
Mhm.
And I think other kids would sometimes bring stuff in too, but I was so obsessed with music.
Mhm.
And when I didn't play my stuff, he would play stuff. It was so cool that he did that.
Yeah.
You know, I think more teachers, and I do see it on social media, teachers playing music for their students.
Yeah.
And I think more teachers should do that, because especially the younger kids, because it can be calming for them. But that's a core memory for me. Like that was a positive thing. Oh, that reminds me. Did you guys play Foursquare?
Not really. We played Kill the Guy in football, and
You're a boy.
I was a boy.
Okay, so the
The
girls
girls,
played
I think, did.
Foursquare.
Yeah.
Foursquare.
We
Did-
played dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Dodgeball was huge.
Yeah.
So we played Foursquare. We played dodgeball. You didn't play Red Rover, right? We talked about this in another
I still
episode.
don't
We
know
played
what the hell
Red.
that is.
That's where you
Yeah.
hold your
I just
arm.
don't remember it.
You guys
Yeah.
didn't play
Not that
that.
I'm aware.
Did you guys play tag?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we would play
We used to
tag.
play hide and go seek or hide and seek.
I don't think we
We
played hide
played
and
kick the
seek.
can. You ever play kick the can?
We played kick the can like when we would be when my dad lived up north and I would hang out with like kids up there. We play kick the can in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell you what the rules were.
I can't either now that I say it.
But I think kick the can for us is what our kids play when they play. Remember when they were younger and they would play outside?
Manhunt?
Manhunt.
No, manhunt is more like hide and seek, where you go
Okay.
hide
Yeah.
and somebody counts to like 60 or something and everybody goes goes
Yeah.
and hides, and it would either be like one person's it or like maybe a couple, I think.
Yeah.
Because you know, where I grew up, we could hide,
Yeah.
right? And because it was all trees, it was, you know,
Yeah.
we could hide, and if you didn't want to be found, you weren't going to be found.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the person would be like, all right, I give up, and then you'd have to swap up. And
Then what was kick the can?
I don't remember. I
'Cause
just
I
remember
remember
like it
playing
was
it.
like you would. I can't even describe it. I just remember you had to kick the can or something.
But then you ran or
Yeah,
something.
like you kicked the can and ran, and then maybe tagged somebody or something like that.
Something like now. Did you have tetherball?
Yeah, but that wasn't like a
I
thing.
love
It's kind of
tetherball.
boring.
Oh my God, I would hit that thing. Okay, so did you ever have to climb a rope to the top of the ceiling of gym and all that was below you was a mat that
Yeah.
was like this,
Yeah.
this
Yep.
maybe this thin?
Yeah, it was a standard wrestling mat.
Yeah.
It's like 2 inches thick.
Okay, but
Yeah.
you had to climb
Yep.
a rope.
Yep.
I never made it
I
that
love
far.
that shit. Yeah.
I never
I can
made
get
it.
to the top.
I don't think they do that. If they do that,
No, it's
the
a
mat
total
is much
liability. Yeah. It's an insurance liability.
Yeah.
A whole thing.
Do you remember? Did you ever get hot lunch?
Like at school?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used.
Remember
and
the
that
pizza?
varied. Oh yeah,
It's like that
a
square.
square. Yeah,
Okay, so that was all the same.
I didn't really like that.
I don't know if anyone liked it. I think it's just like you can remember the taste of it.
I wasn't into it. I grew up in New Jersey. We had real pizza, like thin crust. This was like,
yes.
you know.
I know. I'm trying to think what else they served that was like a common thing.
I would get when I was a kid. I'd get PB and J's. I'd get
Oh.
the peanut butter and jelly with chocolate milk,
Yeah.
and then I feel like that's all I ate.
I remember tater tots.
And tater tots.
Tater
Yep,
tots were
yep.
so good. Corn dogs. We had corn
No, I
dogs.
never had those.
I
actually never had a
Sloppy
corn
Joes.
dog until we made it to moved to Oregon. Yeah, we used to have
Really?
Sloppy Joes. That was
Sloppy
one of my
Joes.
favorites. Yeah.
thought those were disgusting.
Oh, they were the best.
They were gross. So you played the recorder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not well.
No. Did you have music class?
Yeah, but it wasn't great. I still remember the teacher. We didn't jive.
I don't feel like you jived with any teachers.
No, there had to have been some.
I think you were a menace.
No, that's
Yeah,
not fair.
I think so.
Yeah.
So our music class, our music teacher was cool. And you could go in there and play all different types of instruments.
I remember our music class. There were auditions, I think, to be in the school play or the musical, right? To sing at the thing. And I
It's like
remember
theater.
no, like in the auditorium or the lunchroom, the cafeteria.
Yeah.
And the parents would, it was a Christmas show, that kind of thing, a
Oh,
holiday
okay.
thing. And
Yeah.
back then it was Christmas, now it's holiday. And I remember there were like, come try out and sign up and get the goods on what's going to happen. I remember myself and a handful of my buddies show up, and she's like, no.
She just said no to you right away.
But she was like, you guys are not serious. You're here just to get out of your class. You know, tell me, is that the case? If that's the case, you need to leave. We're like, all right, whatever.
Oh my God. So
we all
she
left.
knew.
She
She's like,
knew.
absolutely
Yeah.
not. So did you take home ec?
In 7th or 8th grade, I actually really enjoyed it.
You liked home ec?
I-
What
I
did you
did.
like about home ec?
The lady who taught it was super nice. It was an older lady, super nice. I actually made a pillow, a black pillow with, it was a Billy Idol pillow. So it was like white letters, you had to cut it and sew it and stuff it and all
Oh
that.
yeah, I made a pillow. I made a hamburger, I think. It was a hamburger pillow.
Okay.
Did you have Woodshop?
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
only took it once, I think, but I made a cutting board, which we still have.
Yes, I need to
Yeah.
fix that.
They should still offer home ec and Woodshop in
100%.
class.
Yeah.
I think I understand having technology classes,
Yeah.
and I think that's important, but I think there needs to be a balance, and I think they should bring back home ec, and I think they should bring back Woodshop.
I think it's critical because think about it, right? I was a menace probably for most of my classes, but when I got to Woodshop, I loved it.
Yeah.
home ec. I loved it for whatever reason. Home
Yeah.
ec. I mean, I was like,
Yeah,
as a
but
boy, it's stereotypical, doesn't make sense, but
you were using your hands. You were like
yeah,
doing something where you weren't having to sit and listen or
yeah,
read. You could actually do
yeah.
something.
We actually had a
So,
plastic class too, where they had sheets of plastic, different colors, and you could make things. So you'd have to use
really?
the jigsaw or the bandsaw and cut a pattern, and then go over to like the sanding machine or the lathe, and then to the buffing machine and stuff. Yeah, I made like spoons or some, not spoons, but like a spreader or something.
Really?
Yeah,
We didn't have anything like
yeah.
that. No. We had Woodshop and we had home ec and typing class.
Oh yeah, we had
Did you have
typing.
to take typing class?
Yep,
I think kids should have to do that still.
100%.
I think they should definitely. So many kids just type with their fingers.
You know what it is? I think it's almost like those other classes tap into, they just, there's different parts of your brain in use. So like for me to go to a math class, it's like, ugh. But to go to like wood shop, that's
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah,
It's
no,
creative.
I think it's a great way to grab those kids like that. So
Yeah,
I think they
yeah.
should still. Did you ever have a pet rock?
I don't think so.
Oh my God,
I don't think so.
I had a few.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love my pet rocks. Did you have a rabbit's foot?
Oh yeah, yeah. We would win a rabbit's foot at so every year there was a carnival in town at the church. You went to it, the
Yeah.
Our Lady of the Lake Church, and you would win a rabbit's foot for doing something, either fish or rabbit's foot.
What color was your rabbit's foot?
I think I had one every year, like white or
Okay,
whatever.
so I feel like mine was white, but I can't totally remember. I had a pet rock that I loved, and a rabbit's foot, and I remember I would win goldfish at carnivals.
Yeah.
I'd keep those things alive as long as I could.
Yep.
Did you collect anything?
Actually, I had a baseball card collection that was pretty extensive.
We still have it.
Oh, we do. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. I actually had, and this is funny, this is part of that Gen X piece probably. I had a matchbook collection.
Of cars? Oh,
No,
of matches.
matchbooks. Yeah, of
Oh,
matches. So
yeah.
when we'd go to
Yes.
a restaurant, I'd get matches.
Yes.
And then places had matches.
Yes.
Matches
That's
just
another
randomly,
thing.
right?
People had
Yeah.
restaurants. I think my
And I
mom.
would play with them. I would play with
Oh,
the matches and light them
of
and
course you did.
light the whole book on fire and throw it out and
There
shit
you
like
go.
that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Gen X, not supervised, just lighting
Yeah.
matches.
I feel like I was supervised by uncles or aunts or whoever that were like, oh, that's cool.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I remember, I think my mom had a glass jar that she had a bunch
Yeah.
of match. I think that was a thing. You would grab matches.
Yeah.
Everyone had matches.
Yeah.
You used to take them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I used to collect stamps or stickers.
Oh,
Stickers.
everybody had a sticker
Stickers.
collection there
Like I had
for a while,
sticker
right?
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was all about the stickers.
Yep.
I'm trying to think other than Barbies and stuff, but I think stickers was my main thing. And then the pet rock and the rabbit's foot.
Yep.
I'm sure there was something else.
Did you ever, what pets did you have as a kid?
Dogs.
That's
And,
it?
no, and goldfish.
Yep.
I think that's it.
You never had, you know how like we have a fish tank?
Yes.
I had multiple fish
No.
tanks in
You
my
had
rooms.
multiple fish
Yeah,
tanks.
yeah.
No, nothing that required maintenance. Dogs. You had dogs.
Yeah, we always had dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any hobbies other than music. I think that was my main hobby
hmm
was music.
I don't even know what a hobby would be. I used to fish a lot.
Yeah, that's like a hobby.
Yeah.
You played sports.
Played sports.
I played sports a little. My hobby was surviving.
Yeah. I mean, a collection would have been once I got into the dead and collecting cassettes, right? That became a
Yes,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
adults, please. You have multiple hobbies and own
No,
all
I'm
the
a serial
things. You're a serial
hobbyist.
hobbyist.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always say it's your way of hoarding because hoarding runs in your
I would
family.
say it's more of a coping
Yeah,
mechanism.
there you go. Well,
You
hoarding.
marry a Gen X
Yeah.
woman, you need to cope.
And vice versa, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we covered it. That anything I can't think of anything else right now. But if we think of more things,
I'm curious
we'll
if
do a
this
part 2.
resonates with
I know I am
anyone.
too.
You know,
I would love to know if anyone heard some of this stuff and was like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
remembered.
the only other thing I can think of would be the merry-go-rounds, the what the hell's that called? The seesaw,
Oh my
right?
gosh, the teeter-totter.
Yeah, the teeter-totter thing.
That was so
Yeah,
dangerous.
totally.
And
And
then
you dip and someone would fall and get hurt, and
yes,
you'd laugh
you
and
get
shit.
off and it
Yeah,
go poof.
totally.
And then what about the spinny
Yeah, that
thing?
thing was the best.
And then like you'd hang your head off of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, you think about that now.
yeah,
And all of our playground equipment was metal. The
yes.
slide was metal, so when it
Yep.
was hot,
Being on swings and getting as high as you can and jumping off.
yes,
That
I
was
didn't
always fun.
jump off.
That was fun.
But the slide, when you go down the slide, it was hot. Oh my gosh, it would
Yeah,
burn
the
your
slide.
thighs.
Yep.
And then the jungle gym was metal. We used to
Yeah.
hang from it, or the handle, the bars, we would hang. You do the monkey bars. I would get blisters.
Yeah.
I would get blisters on my hands.
There was
Everything was metal.
yeah, you know, as you know, I grew up around Action Park, which they made the movie on. So we had
Yes.
the Alpine slide, the water
Yes.
slides, and all that shit, and that's a whole other
Someone died there, I think.
multiple times, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And then they finally shut it down.
Well, yeah, I don't know. There were multiple injuries per day.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were, I don't recall deaths per se, but I'm
I
sure there
thought
were
one person
probably.
died. They did a documentary on it. I think someone did die. Did you go to it?
Oh yeah. It was like a daily, not daily, it was 30 minutes away. It was up where the spa was, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you went to Action Park and you would actually go on the
Oh,
rides?
100%. Yeah.
Like the rides that they eventually shut down?
Well, you know, if you watch the movie, it's a very accurate depiction. They would try different things. Like they showed that one where you go in and you're like the human, right? You're not on something.
Yes.
And you go like
They
this.
tried
I
that.
never did that, but the Alpine slide,
Yeah.
the swing that launches you into the water, the like go-kart things, bumper boats, you
Yeah.
know.
So that was something you did in the summer.
Oh yeah.
It was Action Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't
We had
have
another
anything
one.
like that.
We had Tomahawk Lake. I don't know if you ever take the kids there?
No, because I heard someone died there, so I wouldn't take them.
I don't know if I don't recall that, but it's possible. But that was fun.
Someone drowned.
You'd get a mat. I think we'd do it on a mat. I think so, or maybe you just went on your skin. But you had to walk up to the top, and they had
Yeah.
two things, and it would take you down into a pool of water, and that was fun.
Yeah, no.
I got hurt a few times on it, but
We didn't have we had that one thing in Portland. It's like a Knott's Berry Farm type thing, but I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me. We didn't have anything dangerous like that.
yeah, we had a lot
Yeah.
of things dangerous.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah,
We had people would ski up on Mount Hood
yeah.
and go sledding up there, but no, nothing I can think of was
Well,
like scary
Action
like
Park
that.
was Action Park in the summer, and it was a ski place in the
Yeah, yeah.
winter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you went to the place that they made a documentary about.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I don't think they embellished.
No, it didn't sound like it. It
No,
didn't seem like it at
no.
all. So you watched it, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. So
We actually had the Playboy Club too.
you did.
So from across Action Park, you could look across, and there was a Playboy Club.
Yes.
We'd go to that as kids.
What a time.
Yeah,
Action Park and the Playboy
yeah,
Club.
yeah,
And on that note, that's a great way to
yeah,
wrap, because Playboy was a big thing too. Playboy bunnies.
yeah.
That was a big thing
You
in our
know, the other thing,
childhood.
I don't think the kids do it today because they don't need to. They can just go on Pornhub or some other
Yes.
website. But
Yeah.
we used to um, get Playboys or
Yes.
Wees or Hustlers or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Remember when you go into 7-Eleven and there'd be like a
oh yeah,
cover,
yep,
so
yep.
you couldn't see it. That was a whole thing. Oh
My
my
buddies
gosh.
discovered that they just threw away the old
Issues
issues. Yeah, yeah. So I never dumpster dive, but I think they did
for porn.
for Playboy and stuff. Yeah,
Porn.
yeah,
That was the porn back then. That was
yeah.
Gen X porn. That's hilarious.
It is funny.
Okay, so I think on that note we'll stop.
Yeah.
But if we get enough memories together, we'll do a part 2 of this. So hopefully, for anyone listening, this was an enjoyable trip down memory lane and unlock some core memories for you. And if you have any others, please leave them in the comments,
This almost
because
feels like a live. Then people could interact.
actually that might be a good thing to do, is we'll do a live on this stuff too with our TV dinners. Also, if you have any good snacks or food that you ate as a Gen Xer, please leave that in the comments, because we would love to pick up some stuff and maybe do a TikTok live or Instagram or Facebook live, something like that, or do something. So
Yeah.
Anyways, hopefully everyone had fun with this. We certainly did. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Later.